Chapter 1098. The other contestants were having exciting fights. However, people knew that the battle between Solipsistic and the other two would determine the winner. It was unknown how many pairs of eyes were watching this battle. Lu Chun controlled the two battle pets and the two puppets to deal with the Kirin, while he dashed toward Song Yun. "Good timing," Song Yun shouted. Silent falling leaves. Song Yun began to teleport. The silent falling leaves couldn't teleport far, but could be used in multiple stages, and the cooldown time was fast. "My silent falling leaves is designed to counter your speed talisman." Song Yun snorted. Repelling shot. With that said, a cannonball dashed toward Lu Chun. Lu Chun quickly used his body technique to dodge. In the meantime, the man from the Hue Immortal sect had finished charging. "Kid, remember not to be so arrogant." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Dozens of saber lights crisscrossed and chased after Lu Chen's landing point. Right then, the two puppets suddenly left the battle between the Kirin and stood on either side of the man from the Hue Immortal sect. The two puppets pulled at the same time. Reverse traction. Reverse traction meant that the puppets were pulling the puppets in the opposite direction. The puppets had speed talisman effects, and so did Lu Chun. For a moment, his speed was boosted. While dodging the Scorching Sun slash, Lu Chun was closing in on his opponent. The man from the Hue Immortal sect opened his eyes wide. He had thought that Solipsistic would only have one more helper since he had two puppets. However, he didn't expect that one more puppet would increase Su Ping's agility. "You want to get close to me?" "In your dreams." Scorching Sun Wild Saber. Annihilating Sun Chop. That person waved the treasured saber in his hand and sent out a vertical saber chi while retreating quickly. However, as soon as he stopped, he noticed that the two puppets were still close to him. Lu Chen sneered. "You can't get away." With that said, Su Ping used Jiang Qingyan to teleport 3 times in a row. With the help of the puppets, he was able to teleport 5 or 6 times. It was hard to track his movements. He was about to reach Su Ping. When Song Yun saw this, he shouted, "Kill the puppets first." Then, he controlled the Kirin to pounce on one of the puppets. However, on Lu Chen's side, Swanee and the green-scaled Snake King constantly relied on their speed advantage to entangle the Qilin, making it unable to provide support in time. "Damn it, that guy's 2 battle pets aren't attacking. They're just trying their best to distract Kirin so that he can't get away." Since Kirin couldn't help him, Song Yun had to do it himself. However, during the chase, the advantage of his silent leaves turned into a disadvantage. Although Silent Falling Leaf could teleport multiple times, he was clearly lacking in strength. After all, the distance he could teleport to was too short. "No, I have to destroy one of his puppets first." Grey Cloud had already made up his mind. He used his second teleportation skill. Instant Change. This time, the long-distance blink skill allowed him to get close to a puppet. "Die!" Cold Ice Dragon Taming Sword. Song Yun stabbed out with his sword. Mogard Shield. The puppet immediately activated its defensive skill, but because Song Yun's attack was too strong, although the puppet wasn't destroyed, it was still sent flying. So weak." Song Yun cursed in a low voice. He was about to go after the puppet when he looked up and was stunned. He didn't know when it started, but he was already surrounded by the other party's triangle. The puppet that he had just sent flying was about to stand up. The two puppets and the young man had surrounded him. Lu Chen looked at Song Yun with a creepy smile. "Don't you pay attention to your own position when you attack? Do you think I only attack your companions?" How naive. Sure enough, some people get carried away when they attack. After saying that, Lu Chun quickly added dozens of speed talismans to the puppet and himself. "I spent some time studying the puppet control technique of the new puppet and found that it seems to be able to set up a good attack and killing array, just in time to see the effect." Lu Chen snorted. 3-way connection. The two puppets plus Lu Chen's 3 points all had a connection with each other. The positions of the 3 points began to attract each other, and together with their own movements, they became unpredictable. Solitary Swift Shadow. Lu Chun yelled in a low voice, and his speed suddenly increased. Solitary Tree Swift Shadow was a movement skill, But with the cooperation of the two puppets, Lu Chen's movements became extremely strange, without any pattern to speak of. Although Lu Chen didn't move in a straight line, his speed wasn't slow at all. Suddenly, a figure flashed in front of Song Yun. He was wearing the words Zhongxian Gu Demonic Academy on his chest. I said that no matter what skill you get, the result will be the same. Lu Chen yelled in a low voice. Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. With a boom, the punches landed on the Flood Immortal Sex Expert's protective shield. You didn't expect me to have a protective shield, right? Song Yun smiled proudly. You're not the only one who can surprise others. Lu Chen snorted coldly and said, How many times can a protective shield save you? Speed Talisman, Bone-Shattering Fist. Lu Chen used his advantage in speed to quickly circle around Song Yun's back and attack him again. The two puppets continuously assisted Lu Chen in changing his position. This scene simply stunned everyone present. Are you kidding me? The puppets are controlling the puppeteer? I've never seen such a strange puppetry technique. Reverse traction can be used like this? This is the first time I've seen it. That guy is really a battle prodigy. His speed is already very fast. Combined with the reverse traction from afar, his movements are even harder to track. That guy's adaptability in battle is like his body's instinct. He probably wanted to trap the person from a Flood Immortal sect. When he saw that the Heavenly Music Pavilion came to rescue him, he immediately changed his strategy and trapped him in an instant. Song Yun was suffering. He was supposed to rescue his comrade from the Flood Immortal sect, but now he was in a fierce battle. His protective shield's level was very high, and it blocked 3 to 4 bone-shattering fists at the same time. However, that guy's attack speed was extremely fast, and his attributes were not low. His protective shield was eventually penetrated. The protective shield is gone. In the Heavenly Music Pavilion's main hall, everyone stood up anxiously from their seats. At this moment of life and death, Song Yun shouted, Speed Talisman, Spiritual Explosives. Song Yun's main occupation was an explosives expert. However, to everyone's surprise, he actually left behind an explosive skill that was rarely used by explosives experts. He threw out more than 10 cannonballs at the same time, and a series of loud explosions erupted in the arena. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions created a terrifying spiritual energy fluctuation, causing the battlefield to become even more chaotic. However, just when everyone thought that Song Yun had escaped, a white light suddenly flashed, and a low voice shouted, Trying to escape in the chaos? You don't know that I love chaos the most. Tai Chi Sword Shadow. Then, in the midst of the explosion, a thin and sharp sword aura directly pierced through Song Yun's body. Chapter 1099. Since Song Yun had been eliminated, the Kirin had lost its ability to fight as well. The only one left was the one from the Hongxian sect. As for Lu Chen, he had 2 battle pets, 2 puppets, and Lu Chen himself. There was no doubt about the outcome of the match. Lu Chen and the other 4 launched fierce attacks at the same time. That person struggled for only a few minutes before he was eliminated. The 2 of them had taken most of the items in the 5th level treasure chest. However, they were still defeated by Lu Chen. Inside the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the masters beat their chests and stamped their feet. Why did Song Yun have to go after Nameless? Even if he wanted to, he should have waited until he was in the top 10. That's right. As long as they can avoid Nameless, they will definitely be in the top 10. No, the top 5, or even the top 3. Just for the sake of getting first place, I don't even have the reward now. What a double loss. No matter how upset they were, Song Yun had been eliminated. Of the remaining people, no one was a match for Lu Chen. Sure enough, after Lu Chen eliminated a few more people, there was only one person left in the decisive battle. Lu Chen looked around. Some people's corpses had not been teleported away in time, but there were no other competitors except for himself. Congratulations, you have won first place in this year's competition. In 3 minutes, you will be teleported back to the preparation area. Your battle pets and puppets will not be taken away. Lu Chen smiled. Finally, it was over. He patted Swan Shio and the purple-scaled Snake King and nodded to the two puppets. Thank you. It's a pity that I can't take you away. At the moment, in the Demonic Academy, the Black Armor King was checking the accounts. As he did so, he laughed in a terrifying way. Roar, 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 roar. I made a fortune. I've made a fortune. I've never seen so much money in my life. Ha 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 ha. I told you to be careful, but you didn't listen to me. Look at you now. Ha ha ha. A small number of people who had made it to the top 10 were overjoyed. However, most of them were currently experiencing the darkest moment of their lives. I suddenly missed the dean who couldn't even breathe when he walked. After saying that, Xiao Zhan's expression turned sluggish. 8 million. 8 million all gone. He had originally wanted to make a huge profit, but now he was the one who suffered the most. Yifan took out his account book. It seemed that the 70,000 spirit stones that he had painstakingly saved up were going to be lost. Why did I choose the one with the lowest odds and the safest odds, yet still lose everything? Yifan did not understand. Chu Tian shook his head and sighed. A pack of speed talismans can turn the tables? There's no justice in this world. In the distance, the Black Armor King was shouting loudly. Junior brothers and sisters who need money recently. If your life is too tight, you can borrow from me. The interest is very low. Come and take a look. Yifan put down the account book, sighed, and went to line up to borrow money again. He, who was about to reach the shore, once again stepped into the abyss. Just as everyone in the academy was busy settling the accounts, someone suddenly shouted, "Look, someone's causing trouble." Everyone hurriedly looked at the screen. Lu Chan was sent back to the preparation area. As soon as he appeared, he was immediately surrounded by a group of people. Lu Chan looked at the group of fiendish people staring at him in surprise. He frowned slightly. "The competition is over. What are you doing?" "Kid." A person pushed aside the people in front of him and rushed in front of Lu Chan. Lu Chan looked over. It was Song Yun. Song Yun said angrily, "So what if it's the prodigy competition? There's too much chance here. My real strength is not something that the prodigy competition can compare to. Didn't you discover the use of the speed talisman and take first place? You're just one-star Emperor Xiao. Do you know what level I am? You actually snatched the first place of the Tianjiao tournament from me. I don't accept this." Song Yun gritted his teeth in anger. Not only Song Yun, but there were also many people glaring angrily at Lu Chan. Someone from a broken academy can take first place? Did you get news from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace and know how powerful the speed talisman is? So, you purposely collected it? That's right. Otherwise, who would be stupid enough to leave behind so many speed talismans instead of skills and recovery pills? What right does this kind of trash have to take first place? It was the prodigy competition just now. Outside the arena, you're nothing. Celestial Fortress's representative had just taken first place in the top 10. Just as he was feeling excited, he suddenly noticed the commotion and stretched his neck to look over. A group of people was surrounding Nameless. After taking a closer look, Celestial Fortress's representative widened his eyes, his face full of horror. No way. Forget about the prodigy competition. They actually dared to provoke Nameless in real life. This is crazy. They were strong in real life? What a joke. Nameless' real strength was at the peak of level 6. Lu Chan did not intend to make a move. He chuckled. I was wondering what was wrong with you guys. So it's because you can't afford to lose. You guys are strong in real life. What does that have to do with me? It's fine as long as I win the competition. Lu Chan snorted coldly and turned to leave. You want to leave? Tell me clearly, did you cheat or not? A palm pressed on Lu Chan's shoulder. Lu Chan turned his head and looked at the hand on his shoulder. His voice suddenly turned cold. What? Do you want to fight? Let's fight then. I'm full of anger from the prodigy competition. Now that I'm finally out, I can teach trash like you a lesson. With that, the person was about to raise his hand. Suddenly, Lu Chan grabbed that person's wrist and slowly turned around. The one who led the group to provoke him was Heavenly Music Parlor's representative, Song Yun. Lu Chan narrowed his eyes slightly. I'll warn you again. If you insist on finding trouble, you may die. You can be arrogant in the prodigy competition. Outside, I'll let you know who's the boss." Song Yun shouted angrily. "Since I have nothing left, I won't come here in vain if I cripple you." The number 1. Celestial Demon Symbiosis. Lu Chun shouted in a low voice and directly entered battle mode. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body emitted a terrifying spiritual energy. At this moment, Lu Chun was completely different from the ordinary man from before. At this moment, a voice shouted loudly, "Mr. Nameless, please have mercy." Then, a purple figure flashed from afar. However, Lu Chun had no intention of stopping. Sky-breaking sword. With a flash of white light, Lu Chun was already standing behind Song Yun. However, Song Yun didn't even have a chance to react. Until now, the only change was that the ferocious look in his eyes had turned into a look of terror. This was one-star Emperor Xiu's strength. Impossible. He did not even use a weapon. A moment later, Song Yun's arms were directly cut off. Lu Chun did not even turn his head and said coldly, "Remember, I'm someone you can't afford to offend." In front of the screen, Xin Er's breathing was rapid. Looking at the handsome yet ruthless man, her mind went blank. Chapter 1100. Xin Er's eyes widened. Was the handsome man in the image really the cute, solipsistic emperor from before? No, definitely not. When he was serious, it was scary. Solipsistic emperor still showed mercy. At this moment, her father's voice came from behind. He didn't take Song Yun's life in the end, and his arms could be reattached. But this way, no one should be dissatisfied with him anymore. As he said that, the man couldn't help but find it funny. Talking about real combat strength with solipsistic emperor? Isn't that courting death? Before the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace could arrive, Song Yun's arms had been chopped off. Of course, even if they arrived, Lu Chun probably wouldn't stop. He had already warned them twice, and this was already unprecedented. In the end, they didn't believe him, so there was nothing he could do. Those looking for trouble looked at Lu Chun in horror. Just now, Lu Chun didn't activate Soul Body as one, but his speed was so fast that they couldn't react. He had only chopped off Song Yun's arms. If he had stabbed his heart or spirit core, Song Yun would be a dead man now. A one-star Emperor Xiu could make them all unable to react in time. What kind of terrifying combat strength was that? Who is he? Lu Chun couldn't be bothered to explain. He just looked at the crowd. Is there anyone else looking for trouble? No one dared to answer Lu Chun. At this moment, the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace walked in front of Lu Chun. He glanced at Song Yun, whose arms had been chopped off, and shook his head. He was still too slow. Nameless Emperor's speed was too fast. Just a celestial demon symbiosis and a sky-piercing sword was enough to leave him far behind. "Mr. Nameless, the prodigy competition has ended, and the prizes will be sent to Zhongxinge. However, our palace master wants to meet you. Is it convenient for Mr. Nameless?" Lu Chun exited the celestial demon symbiosis state and said, "I also want to ask the palace master some questions. Senior, please lead the way." Lu Chun followed that person into an independent teleportation gate. Coming out of the portal, Lu Chun found himself standing on a platform suspended in midair. This is the teleportation platform. "Sir, please follow me to the main hall of the Heavenly Palace." The man bowed slightly and made an inviting gesture. Space shuttles? Lu Chun was a little suspicious until he saw hundreds of space shuttles docked at the edge of the platform. It was not easy for him to obtain a Mount Magic treasure, but in the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, it was actually just a public transportation tool. This Royal Heaven Immortal Palace was truly generous. The two of them stepped onto a shuttle, and the shuttle automatically flew towards an immortal island in the sky. Along the way, Lu Chun discovered that although the immortal islands here were also floating in the sky, there were no chains connecting them to each other. It was somewhat different from the immortal mountains of Zhongxinge. It was as if these immortal mountains were suspended in midair by some kind of power. On each of the immortal islands, there were palaces built with bricks. All of the immortal islands were like grand open-air palaces. 10 minutes later, Lu Chun and that person arrived at the Royal Heavenly Great Hall together. At this moment, there were already 2 people waiting in the great hall. Sir Nameless, these 2 are our royal heaven immortal palace's palace lord, immortal master Tai Hao, and his daughter, Tian Exenda. The guide did not continue to lead the way, but only introduced the 2 of them from afar. Sir Nameless, it's not convenient for me to enter the great hall. Please follow me. Lu Chun did not know their rules, so he nodded and said, "Thank you, Senior. I'll go over myself." With that, he walked over. From afar, the middle-aged man looked quite sage-like. He was dressed in a white robe and had a long beard. At this moment, he was looking at him with a smile. His daughter had a purple veil on her face, leaving only a pair of lively eyes. Her figure was graceful, but Lu Chun was too embarrassed to stare, so he did not take a closer look. Lu Chun walked in front of the 2 of them and cupped his fists. Nameless greets Immortal Master Tai Hao and Miss Tian Exen. Before Tai Hao could speak, his daughter said disdainfully, "Nameless? Do you think I don't know that you're Lu Chun?" Lu Chun was stunned. What was going on? Speaking of which, he did mention his name to Li Wei back then. At that time, he was in a life-or-death situation, so he just wanted to prove that he had been here before. But how did this girl know? Moreover, from the way she spoke to him, it did not seem like it was the first time they had met. Lu Chun looked at the girl. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, and her pupils were a rare light purple. He did not seem to have seen this person before. Exayana. Tai Hao pretended to be angry and shouted at his daughter. "Nonsense!" Exayana shrunk her neck and glared at Lu Chun bitterly. Her glare made Lu Chun feel confused. Tai Hao smiled at Nameless. "My daughter is naughty. I have spoiled her. Nameless, please don't take offense." Lu Chun naturally would not be unhappy about this. He smiled and said, "Senior, you're too serious. May I know why you're looking for me?" Tai Hao smiled and nodded. "Nameless, I want to ask you a question." "Please ask, Senior. How confident are you in ascending and becoming an immortal?" Lu Chun was stunned. He did not expect Tai Hao to ask this question. Lu Chun himself had not thought about this question. "To be honest, I don't know either. You killed the king of hell, demon supremacy. What do you think your strength ranks in the current 6th heaven?" Lu Chun answered, "About the top 100. "Oh." Tai Hao looked at Lu Chun in surprise. "The king of hell is the strongest in the underworld. You killed him. Why do you think you're only in the top 100? Is this your true opinion?" Lu Chun answered calmly, "I killed the king of hell because I had the advantage of the earth fire. He was afraid of the earth fire and naturally restrained himself. Also, I am not weakened by the underworld. This is something others cannot compare to. The 6th heaven is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. However, after entering the underworld, they will be greatly weakened. If it was a fair fight, I think I'm not the only one who can kill the king of hell." After listening to Lu Chun's analysis, Tai Hao's eyes were filled with admiration. At such a young age, you are neither arrogant nor impatient. Your vision is indeed extraordinary. However, your analysis is only half correct. Lu Chun frowned slightly. "Senior, please enlighten me." Tai Hao put his hands behind his back and looked at the clouds in the distance. "Actually, in the 6th heaven and even in the underworld, you are not the only one who has the ability to kill the king of hell. However, you're the only one who's going to do it. Some people are focused on becoming immortals and have no time to care about these trivial matters. However, some people can't wait for the world to be in chaos. They have the ability to protect themselves. Why would they bother to kill the king of hell?" Tai Hao looked at Lu Chun meaningfully. "When you reach a high enough realm, you only have eyes for immortals." Suddenly, Tai Hao changed the topic. "Speaking of which, it's interesting. Not being compassionate is also a necessary condition to pass the tribulation." Lu Chun frowned. A necessary condition to pass the tribulation? In other words, Tai Hao was telling him that in his current state, he could not pass the tribulation successfully. Lu Chun suddenly said, "Could it be that I have to cut off my emotions and desires to pass the tribulation?" Tai Hao shook his head. "It's not that absolute. However, you have to know that the more difficult it is to cut off the fetters in your heart, the more terrifying the tribulation you will suffer. The so-called emotions and desires are just obstacles in your pursuit of the great Tao. I know you are also a sentimental person, so you don't have to pass the tribulation to become immortal and go to the seventh heaven. After Tai Hao finished speaking, he stared at Lu Chun. Tian Xin did the same. They were nervously observing Lu Chen's every move and subtle expression. After a long silence, Lu Chun finally raised his head. Senior Tai Hao asked me to come here to tell me this. Thank you for the reminder. Then, Lu Chun changed the topic. However, I will not let go of my emotions and desires. I will not stop at the sixth heaven. As for the powerful tribulation, Lu Chun snorted. I will break it. Chapter 1101. Tai Hao looked at Lu Chun and frowned slightly. You really don't plan to stay in the sixth heaven? Even if the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace wants to recruit you? I can tell you responsibly that no one in the sixth heaven can defeat the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. If you're willing to stay, your demonic academy can develop independently from the Zhongxingge. I can even arrange a new continent for you and let the demonic academy become the headquarters. You know how many resources the headquarters has. Actually, if you're willing, you can even become the future master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Lu Chun frowned. Tai Hao's offer was too scary. The master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace? He wanted to take him in as a disciple and give him the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. At this time, Tai Hao revealed his real purpose, which was to recruit Lu Chun. Lu Chun didn't hesitate at all in the face of such a tempting offer. Thank you for your kindness, Senior Tai Hao, but the sixth heaven isn't my end. As for the demonic academy, I believe that the disciples of the academy will make the demonic academy famous in the world one day. Suppression couldn't stop Lu Chun, and neither could the temptation of benefits. Tai Hao was silent for a moment. Looking at Lu Chun's determined gaze, he sighed softly. Looks like you made up your mind. The girl beside Tai Hao's eyes dimmed a little. Her father didn't want to take in Nameless as a disciple. She knew that it wasn't just because of Solipsistic's heaven-defying strength and performance in the Prodigy competition, but also because of her. However, Nameless' answer left no room for discussion. Even though she knew that Nameless didn't have much interaction with her and didn't even know her identity, Tian Xin was still a little disappointed. Seeing that the other party was no longer talking about the recruitment, Lu Chun said, Senior Tai Hao, in fact, I also have two things that I would like to ask you about. Oh, what is it? Tai Hao asked. The first thing is, I wonder if Senior Tai Hao knows about the Thunder Academy. Thunder Academy. Tai Hao recalled and said, Oh, I remember now. That's the academy from the Immortal Pavilion. Their strength is always in the top 3 in the Kunlun continent. Lu Chun sighed in his heart. The people in the mountains gave him 2 academies to choose from, but he had to meet the bankrupt academy. If he had joined the Thunder Academy from the start, how comfortable his life would be. However, this time, he finally knew the location of the Thunder Academy. When he had time, he would go and take a look. Why are you interested in the Thunder Academy? Tai Hao looked at Lu Chun. Oh, it's nothing, a friend. Lu Chun casually made up an excuse. There is another matter I wish to ask Senior about. How can I obtain Immortal Academy's qualifications? Tai Hao explained at Immortal Academy. That requires your academy to reach the level of Sacred Academy. When you reach the Sacred Academy, your 9-path star map formation will be activated. There are a total of 81 pathways in the star map formation. Each pathway has 81 checkpoints. The difficulty of the checkpoints on each pathway increases with each level. There are a total of 6,561 checkpoints. Each disciple can only challenge the star map formation once. No matter if they succeed or not, they can't challenge it again. When all the checkpoints are cleared, your academy will have its own star map and naturally become Immortal Academy. Of course, don't underestimate each checkpoint. Even if it's the easiest checkpoint, normal people who haven't reached the Mortal King realm shouldn't waste their chance to pass it. Although your academies are very talented, but I don't need you to let them pass the checkpoints rashly. Tai Hao added in the end, oh, right, only disciples can pass the checkpoints. Instructors and deans can't pass the checkpoints. Lu Chun felt his scalp go numb. They had to become Sacred Academy first, and then let the students pass more than 6,000 checkpoints. The checkpoints could only be challenged at the Mortal King realm. The difficulty was unimaginable. No wonder there were so many Sixth Heaven Academies, but only a few could reach Immortal Academy. That might be the result of thousands of years of accumulation. Lu Chun sighed, looking very disappointed. Nameless, why do you ask about Immortal Academy? Lu Chun shook his head. I want to go down to the lower realm once, but only Immortal Academy's teleportation gate can do that. I don't know how long I have to wait. Tai Hao couldn't help but laugh when he heard that. Ha! So you just want to go down to the lower realm. I thought you were going to do something big again. Nameless, isn't it just the lower realm? I could send you down here. Of course, if you don't want to owe me this favor, you just won the prodigy competition. Zhongxin Gu can't refuse, right? Letting you go down to the lower realm once, they can still do it. Lu Chun's eyes lit up when he heard that. Tai Hao could also see that Lu Chun was in a hurry to leave. He took out a token from his backpack and handed it to Lu Chun. Nameless, this is my Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace's token. Even if you don't want to stay, one more friend means one more path. If you have time, come and visit more often. There are people here who welcome you very much. Tai Hao's gaze clearly glanced at Tian Xen, as he spoke, and his tone was also strange. Lu Chun blinked his eyes. Was there a friend of his here? He didn't see any. However, Tai Hao had always been very polite to him, and Lu Chun didn't mind having more friends, so he took the token. All right, I see that you seem to have something urgent, so I won't keep you. I'll have Dong Chu bring you to the teleportation platform. You can directly teleport back to Zhongxingge. After Lu Chun bid farewell to the two of them, he saw that Dong Chu was still waiting for him outside the palace. So he followed him onto the shuttle and headed to the teleportation platform. A golden fish is not a fish in a pond. Tai Hao looked at Tian Xen. I've tried my best. I've forgotten how long it's been since I begged someone to join the Immortal Palace, but I was still rejected. Tian Xen kept looking at that figure from afar. That man killed the king of hell, but didn't leave his name. He didn't care about fame or how others saw him. In the prodigy competition, he easily won despite being at an extreme disadvantage. The domineering and arrogant performance in the competition simply made her heart flutter. When she thought of his usual performance, it was hard for her to associate this super powerhouse with that silly boy. Her heart was filled with admiration and curiosity. This was the most important thing. Father, since you can't keep him, then I'll do it myself. With that, Xiner ran out of the palace. Xiner, where are you going? The 36 stratagems, the honey trap. Xiner's answer came from afar. Tai Hao frowned. This girl was so proactive. However, if he could take Nameless for his own use, he wouldn't object. Moreover, judging from Nameless' character, it should be safe for his daughter to go to him. His only worry was, honey trap? Are you sure this trick will work on Nameless? Chapter 11:02. When Lu Chun returned to Zhongxingge, Ma Bei and the rest of the Sengoku welcomed him personally. Congratulations, Brother Nameless, on your triumphant return. Ma Bei hurried over to Lu Chun, his face beaming. Originally, the Immortal Sovereign wanted to welcome you personally, but there was a last-minute meeting at the headquarters. He waited for you for a long time, but you didn't return, so he had to leave first. Lu Chun didn't mind at all, but when he saw Ma Bei's happy face, he couldn't help but want to give him a blow. I wanted to just get into the top 10, but you guys got lucky. There are 3 tribulation pills for first place, right? No, Brother Nameless, it's true that we got 3 tribulation pills, but you can take a look at the resources we gave to the divine demons. It's definitely much more than what we promised you. Besides, your personal reward is quite a lot too. A tribulation transcendence pill, an immortal pill formula, 300,000 cash withdrawal tickets, 100,000 reputation points, and a high-grade cash withdrawal ticket. Even I'm jealous just looking at it. Huang Xian added, Nameless, we've already prepared food and wine for you to welcome you back. You've done us a great service. Lu Chun shook his head. Forget about the welcome dinner, but I do need you guys to do me a favor. Ma Bei and the rest stopped and looked at Lu Chun. Brother Nameless, if there's anything you need our help with, as long as it's within our abilities, we won't shirk away. From the looks of it, Zhong Xinge completely understood now. Suppress Lu Chun? It's definitely better to rope him in. I wanted to send to the lower realm once, Lu Chun said. Lower realm? Ma Bei frowned and thought for a while. This Lu Chun frowned. What's wrong? You can't arrange it? It's not that we can't arrange it. Our Zhong Xinji's portal can descend to the lower realm, but the Jiuqian has strict restrictions on the lower realm, so even we can't use the portal without permission. So? Lu Chun asked. Taihao had clearly said that Zhong Xinge could descend to the lower realm. If they continue to find excuses, then Lu Chun would definitely not call Zhong Xinge brothers anymore. Ma Bei said, Nameless brother, I can help you arrange the lower realm, but you have to defeat me and not disturb the overall situation of the lower realm. You also know that you have changed the rules of the heaven domain that you have passed through. I'm really a little worried. Lu Chun smiled. So this was what Ma Bei was worried about. Fortunately, they didn't lie to him. It was normal for Ma Bei and the others to have such concerns. Don't worry, I'm just going to deal with a personal matter. I won't disturb the order of the lower realms. You can rest assured about that. Ma Bei looked at Lu Chun. Nameless rarely went back on his word. If you're going to deal with a personal matter, then I will arrange it immediately. I wonder how long Brother Nameless will be gone, and when will you leave? Can you directly teleport to the second heaven? Lu Chun didn't want to be teleported from the fourth or fifth heaven to the second heaven. Of course, it would be best if they could go directly. Yes. Okay. I will go back to the academy to prepare first. We will leave in 3 days. Zhong Xingu arranged for people to send the Demonic Academy's reward, Lu Chun's personal reward, and Lu Chun himself to the Demonic Academy. Sitting on the huge white crane, the dozen or so Zhong Xingu disciples sat in the distance and looked at Lu Chun. Did he really just come to the sixth heaven for more than a year? He killed the king of hell and ranked first in the prodigy tournament. He is really strong. He is the strongest newcomer in the history of the sixth heaven. You saw his performance in the prodigy tournament. He is really not human. Oh, and in the preparation area, he cut off Song Yun's arm. Don't be fooled by his good temper usually. When he is angry, it is really scary. A beautiful female disciple bravely walked to Lu Chun's side. Nameless Senior. Lu Chun turned his head and looked at her strangely. What is it? Being looked at by Lu Chun like this, the elf girl's face was boiling hot. Senior, I want to ask, how do you operate the puppet's reverse traction? I also have the reverse traction skill, but usually I can only use it to change my position a few times. I can't do it like you, quickly switching back and forth with the puppet and changing position multiple times. So she came to ask questions. Lu Chun smiled slightly. I'm not a senior. Let's talk about it. Your problem should be that the use of spiritual power is not consistent enough. The root of the problem is that you are not prepared for your next move in advance. But in actual combat, how can you always maintain such a clear mind? After all, the enemy's movements are also changing. It is actually very simple. Keep suppressing the opponent and make him move according to your thoughts. Naturally, you will have enough time to prepare for your next move in advance. The girl's eyes widened. In the Prodigy tournament, they only saw Nameless' brilliant use of puppet techniques, but they did not expect that what they could not see was the most terrifying. They could imagine why Song Yun was so angry. In the Prodigy tournament, he was suppressed by Lu Chun everywhere. He was probably angry because he was suppressed. Nameless was easy to say, but thinking about it carefully, to be able to make the opponent move according to one's wishes, one must have a lot of combat experience to be able to do this. These Zhong Xingu disciples, no matter which academy they went to, would be respectfully addressed as Immortal Master. But in front of Lu Chun, she felt that she was like a student, shocked speechless by the teacher's profound theory. The disciples of the Demonic Academy were all people with heaven-defying luck. Otherwise, how would they be able to join the Demonic Academy and have the opportunity to listen to such teachings? Most importantly, their dean was usually too amiable and approachable. She was so envious that she wanted to cry. That, Nameless Dean, how is your academy's enrollment situation recently? The girl suddenly asked. Lu Chun shook his head. We could have entered the rankings long ago, but something happened in the underworld. During that period of time, we did not enroll students and wasted more than half a year. Recently, you also know that our academy does not have priority in enrolling students, and the number of students is not increasing quickly. It is already not bad if we can have 10 new students a day. The girl nodded and said blankly, Are you sure that your requirements are not too high? A lower academy that did not even have an enrollment office had hundreds of people lining up at the entrance to take the test every day. This kind of thing had never happened before. Not long after, they had already arrived at the demonic academy. Lu Chen was also full of joy. After all, this was his home in the sixth heaven. Little brats, you all missed me, right? The dean is back. Ha ha. When Etion and a sea of clouds saw that Lu Chen had returned, they hurriedly went to the training field to welcome him. However, what made Lu Chen feel strange was that no one missed him. Other than Little Beast and a few students, he did not know where the students in the entire academy had gone. Even the welcoming team was made up of 2 or 3 kittens. Where is everyone? Lu Chen asked in surprise. They are all cultivating? A sea of clouds was speechless. Nameless, it's like this. Recently, we have opened up a few new businesses, and the students have all gone to do small jobs. Lu Chen was dumbfounded. Weren't they all too lazy to do work in the past? We even had to hire people from other academies. Why are they all so hardworking now? Right at this moment, the Black Armor King swaggered into the training field. Lu Chen looked back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not know when this guy had become so eye-catching. His hairstyle had also changed. Now he had a swept-back hairstyle. He had at least 5 sets of weapons on him. There are all kinds of swords, spears, rods, and sticks. Although they could not be used at the same time, they still had to be on him. There were 3 magic treasures hanging beside him. They seemed to be the magic treasures of his battle soul, and now they had all appeared. His clothes had also changed into the most expensive, multi-layered clothes. There was an inner lining, outerwear, cloak, carved dragons, and phoenixes. The workmanship was extremely exquisite. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly, his face full of surprise. This guy, how did he become like this? Chapter 1103. From the introduction of a sea of clouds, Lu Chen finally understood how Black Armor King made his fortune. In this prodigy competition, he was the one who earned the most. Now, he was so proud that he didn't know what to do. There was no other way. There was simply too much money. Lu Chen frowned. All the students bet that I won't be able to enter the top 10? These bunch of little bastards actually want me to lose. Don't they want the school's resources? This, nameless. Actually, the students are earning quite a lot from other schools. Lu Chen suddenly became angry. Black Armor King, come over here. Black Armor King, who was so proud of himself, heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, he felt as if he was struck by lightning. Only when he saw the president's dark face did he realize that the president was back. President, why did you come back? Black Armor King jogged over. You opened a gambling house? You earned quite a lot. Lu Chen looked at the luxuriously equipped Black Armor King with a strange gaze. President, that, I didn't earn much. Not much. Why do I feel like you're about to ascend to heaven? Lu Chen said fiercely. How much did you earn? In front of Lu Chen, Black Armor King's arrogance disappeared. He lowered his head and said honestly, not much. I only earned about 3 billion. Lu Chen almost had a heart attack. This guy's assets were more than the school's savings. The school also had to open a trading house and pay salaries. In fact, they only had about 1 billion spirit stones left. Lu Chen frowned. The fish farm that we wanted to rent last time. Was it because we didn't have enough funds? Yes. Lu Chen nodded and looked at Black Armor King. Black Armor King, don't you know that you opened a gambling house in the school without permission? President, the school didn't say that we can't open a gambling house. Other schools have their own gambling houses too. Black Armor King was confused. Yes, the academy's rules don't say that we can't gamble, but Luchin thought for a moment and continued. But using the dean's ranking as a wager is disrespectful to me. Old High, is there a rule in the academy about not respecting elders? Yes, they have no respect for their elders. Serious cases can result in expulsion from the academy. Black Armor King sucked in a breath of cold air. Expelled from the academy. It was a serious crime. Luchin nodded in satisfaction. The contestants from other academies are all students, so it doesn't matter if there's a bet or not. However, Godfiend is different. I'm a contestant. In other words, the dean. Tell me, not only do you not want me to get a good ranking, but you also want to take the opportunity to amass money. Is that appropriate? Luchin's words made the Black Armor King's face turn pale. Principal, Black Armor King's mind raced as he finally figured out where the problem lay. This wasn't a matter of whether the rules were set or not. It was a matter of not satisfying the director. After all, the rules were set by the dean. He had the final say. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. He quickly pulled Luchin to the side and whispered, Principal, I don't mean to disrespect you. If not for the fact that the dean suppressed the expert from the other continents, I, Black Armor King, would not be where I am today. This is a 1 billion Spirit Stone card. Black Armor King secretly passed a Spirit Stone card to Luchin with a smile. Luchin shook his head without looking at the Spirit Stone card. Black Armor King was shocked. Boss is not satisfied. He gritted his teeth and took out another Spirit Stone card. This is 500 million. I don't have any more. I have already put away the rest of the money. Luchin glanced at Black Armor King. He didn't need Spirit Stones at all. After all, he had a huge Spirit Stone mine in the 5th layer of heaven. In terms of wealth, he could crush Black Armor King. Speaking of which, those brats actually bet on him losing? The Black Armor King had won them all, so Luchin was quite happy in his heart. The main reason was that Luchin couldn't catch anyone else. Thus, he dragged Black Armor King over to scare him. Why would I want your Spirit Stones? Luchin stared at Black Armor King and touched his chin. Although your business mind is not bad, you can't only care about yourself. In the future, you are not allowed to set up private bets. If you want to open one, do it in the name of the Academy. What? Luchin stared at Black Armor King. All you think about is earning money. Your talent needs to be used on the right path. In the future, the Academy's foreign trade will be handed to you. This, Principal Black Armor King's eyes widened as he looked at Luchin in shock. Luchin said, You don't want to? No, of course I wanna. Black Armor King hurriedly said. Yi Fan and that bunch of brats are too talented. Grey Crow, and I can't compare to them in cultivation. We also want to do something in other areas so that we won't be surpassed by them one by one. Black Armor King said seriously. Principal, are you really letting me manage the trade? Luchin smiled. You are the earliest students of the Divine Devil Academy. How can you not be noticed? I just hope that you can play a more useful role in the areas you are good at. Actually, I have long wanted to buy a few strength testing stones. Previously, the World Edge Pavilion had a few testing stones. Others don't have them. I also want to get a few. Luchin said with longing in his eyes. Also, the Academy's renovation is still a bit shabby. As for the materials, I just found out that some of them can be bought through special channels. If I can buy them with Spirit Stones, I will buy them with Spirit Stones first. Principal, leave it to me. I think I can earn all this money for you. Black Armor King said excitedly. Actually, what's the use of earning so many Spirit Stones? If we can make the Academy stronger, we will have more room for improvement. Luchin nodded in satisfaction. I believe in you. All right, I will tell Old C and the others about this. You can go first. Yes, Principal. Wait. Luchin suddenly called out to Black Armor King. What other instructions do you have for me? Change your appearance. Make yourself look like a nouveau riche. How are you going to represent the Academy when negotiating with others in the future? Black Armor King scratched his head in embarrassment. Yes, Principal. I will go back and do it now. A sea of clouds looked at Black Armor King's back as he ran away and smiled. This kid is really lucky. Not only did he earn a lot of money, but he also got promoted. However, he is indeed the most suitable person to be in charge of the trade department. The academy needs too much money, Tian said. At least, we don't have to see him walking around with his nose in the air every day. A sea of clouds smiled. Lu Chen smiled. Black Armor King was also a talent. It was just that his talent was not in cultivation. He believed that he would help the academy earn more spirit stones in the future. All right, Old C, Old E, I will be returning to the second heaven in 3 days. Today, I brought back the rewards I won from the Prodigy Tournament. There are quite a lot of resources. In these 2 days, let's reorganize the Academy's rewards and benefits, Lu Chen said. Okay. A sea of clouds immediately asked Long Xiang and the others to check and organize the resources. Nameless, how long will you be in the second heaven? Lu Chen thought for a moment and shook his head. I don't know. This time, when he returned to the second heaven, Lu Chen was going to the river of forgetfulness. Mengpa said that because he did not return to the second heaven in time, the girl's fate had changed. When he saw her again, he did not know whether they would be friends or enemies. Thinking of this, Lu Chen sighed. Actually, I should have gone earlier. Chapter 1104. Lu Chen, a sea of clouds, and Yi Tian had been busy for 2 days to improve the students' daily welfare. After replenishing a large number of resources, the students could receive some basic supplies every month. Coupled with the ranking rewards from the arena, the Demonic Academy was now not much different from the other academies. In addition, in these few days, the seal on the Academy's herb garden was also lifted. The herb garden of the sacred courtyard of Wunyan was very large. Lu Chen suddenly thought that he could bring the medicine boy over from the second heaven this time. Then he could plant herbs in the Academy. On the 3rd day, Lu Chen went to Zhongxingge. Shun Liang, Immortal Venerable, had not returned yet. He did not know what urgent matter had taken him so long. Nameless, the portal exit will automatically disappear after you leave and reappear in 30 days. You have to pay attention to the time, Ma Bei said. Okay. Lu Chen followed Ma Bei to the portal. Lu Chen walked directly into the portal. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found that he was already in the novice village of the second heaven. Things remained the same, but people had changed. All of a sudden, it brought back a lot of memories for Lu Chen. This novice village was not the novice village where Lu Chen was born. It was called Long Distance Village. Occasionally, some teams that had just arrived at the second heaven would spawn around Lu Chen. He still remembered that when he had just arrived at the second heaven, he had provoked the people of the Holy Mountain. Later, he had directly seized their main city. So what state should I be in now? Lu Chen looked at his attributes. He was actually in his original state. As a person from the lower realm, Lu Chen maintained the attributes of the sixth heaven and entered the second heaven in his original state. Of course, even in his original state, Lu Chen's current attributes were very terrifying, not to mention that he had the soul-body unification. In the second heaven, Lu Chen's strength was far beyond everyone's. Some of the people who had just reached this second level of heaven were just like Lu Chen back then. They were all dumbfounded. However, there were also many high-level players in the novice village. After all, Lu Chen had increased the difficulty of the second heaven to hell mode. It was quite difficult to leave the novice village. At this moment, a young man walked up and said to Lu Chen, "Hey, friend, where's your team? Our party is a 10-man elite party. It's a little difficult to survive here. Everyone here is new. If your party is strong enough, we can consider forming a party to hunt the silver werewolves outside." Lu Chen smiled. This scene reminded him of when he first came to the second heaven. Unfortunately, he was not here to experience life. He smiled and said, "Thank you, but I still have something to do, so I won't be farming." "Aren't you going to farm after coming to the second heaven? I'm here to look for something." After Lu Chen finished speaking, he opened a map of the second heaven that he hadn't seen in a long time. There was still plenty of time. Since he was already here, he might as well head over to the Earth Alliance to take a look. He did not want to scare the newbies around him. After all, he had promised Ma Bei that he would try his best not to cause too much of a commotion. After declining the other party's invitation, Lu Chen walked out of the village alone. He wanted to find a secluded place to summon Nine-Winged. Lu Chen frowned slightly. There are so many monsters outside the novice village. Then he used Great Ravager and easily killed a few silver werewolves. Some items dropped on the ground. Luchan was too lazy to look at them. He directly summoned Nine-Winged and flew to the Earth Alliance. Not long after, a few people looked at the corpses of the silver werewolves on the ground in horror. They could not believe their eyes. Oh my God, who killed these werewolves? They didn't even pick up the items? Hurry up and loot them. They might have died together with the werewolves. These werewolves will drop dark gold. After saying that, a few people frantically looted the corpses. Not long after, Luchan arrived at the Earth Alliance. There are not many people from Earth here. Although the guide plan focused on nurturing a small number of people, and there were many people who were still in the low-level heavens, the level of the second heaven was too low. Most of the people who were still here were some old people and children. After Luchan came down from Nine-Winged and arrived at the Earth Alliance, he was stopped by a few guards. The guards in charge of security were very young. They were probably left behind to protect these Earth players. However, their IDs were displayed above their heads. The prefix was Wild Waves Guild. It was the people from Wild Waves who had left behind to protect these weak players. Lung Nuo, this girl. Luchan shook his head. On one hand, it could be that Lung Nuo was meticulous and left people to protect these weaker players. On the other hand, it meant that the current Wild Waves had already participated in the military's activities. It could be seen how terrifying its power was. Hey, you are. Two guards noticed Luchan. After walking up, they looked at Luchan strangely. I am an Earthling. Luchan smiled slightly. Earthling? You. Why are you still in the second heaven? Which guard team are you from? Luchan said, I'm just here to take a look. Why do I feel that you are acting suspiciously? The other person had been observing Luchan and seemed very cautious. What is your player's serial number? Player's serial number? Luchan was stunned for a moment. He had not returned to Earth for a long time. There is still such a thing? I don't have a serial number. However, I am indeed an Earthling. I am from Huaxia. To be more precise, I am also from Wild Waves, Luchan explained. The few of them quickly realized that a large group of guards had surrounded them. How can you not have a serial number? Don't talk about Wild Waves. You don't even have a serial number. How can you be from Wild Waves? Tell us, who are you? What is your purpose of coming here? If you don't tell us, don't blame us for being rude. Luchan shook his head. Perhaps his appearance had changed. These people actually did not recognize him. Luchan had no choice but to reveal his ID. A golden ID appeared in front of everyone. Wild Waves Guild leader, Solipsistic. Seeing these words, the 20 to 30 guards were stunned. Solipsistic? You are. Mad God. Wild Waves Guild leader? Isn't the guild leader Cold God? No, Cold God's title is Vice Guild leader. This is Guild leader. Although there was only a one-word difference between Vice Guild leader and Guild leader, the difference between them did not need to be explained at all. Mad God? It's really you. Oh my God, I'm seeing a living Mad God. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Are you really Mad God? Why do I feel that you are different from before? Also, you're not this tall. Previously, Mad God was said to be only 175 meters tall. Luchan smiled slightly. You will know in the future. Then, he put away his ID. Is the Earth Alliance still peaceful now? Luchan asked. After everyone knew Luchan's identity, they immediately became fans and rushed to answer. It's pretty good. No one is causing trouble for us here. My legs are inconvenient in the real world, so I've been staying in the second heaven. However, I heard from my friends in the real world that our people are quite popular in the third, fourth, and fifth heaven. Hearing this news, Luchan was relieved. He had paved the way for the players on Earth, and it was finally working. But I see that you guys are very vigilant. Luchan asked another question. Oh, it's like this. I was temporarily transferred from the third heaven. A middle-aged white man said, I heard that some time ago, there was a strange woman who kept looking over here. She didn't hurt us, but the higher-ups thought that person was too strange. So they urgently transferred some people to strengthen the security here. Oh, what kind of person is she? Luchan suddenly realized that this matter sounded a little strange. Speaking of which, it's strange. The person from the third heaven said, I heard that no one saw her face clearly, but from her body shape, she seemed to be a woman. After our group of people came down, she never appeared again. How long ago did this happen? Lu Chen asked. A few months ago. Anyway, I haven't seen her in the past 4 months. Oh, by the way, someone seemed to have heard her repeating a sentence. What did she say? She seemed to keep saying, what did I forget? Chapter 1105. Lu Chan frowned slightly when he heard the guard's words. Could be that girl? Can you take me to the place where she appeared? No problem. The guard leading the way still needed to go back to protect the Earth Alliance, so Lu Chun asked them to go back first. That woman had not appeared for several months. Lu Chun looked around at the foot of the mountain and did not find any clues. It was almost evening, and the sunset glow painted half of the sky red. Lu Chun was stunned when he saw this. This scene was so familiar. It was just that it was familiar, but he could not remember. After trying a few times, Lu Chun shook his head. It was just a feeling, and it might not even have anything to do with that woman. There was no need to waste any more time here. Let's go back to the army first. Nine Wing, let's go. As they approached the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range, Lu Chun realized that Nine Wing had stopped flying. It was probably affected by the turbulence above the mountain range. Until now, not many people knew that there was a hidden force hidden in the Spirit Condensation Mountain Range. Lu Chun spread his wings and returned to the monster army. The medicine boy was in a large field, looking down at the growth of the herbs. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. Xiao Kuang. The medicine boy could not believe his eyes. His boss was back. The medicine boy's eyes turned red immediately. Lu Chun smiled. Little Tong, thank you for your hard work. As he spoke, Lu Chun released Little Green, Xiao Min, Rhubarb, Furball, and Originator. Little Green, Xiao Min. The medicine boy was arrogant and looked about the same age as Xiao Min. He kept calling them Xiao Kuang and Little Green, but anyone could see that he was very excited. The reunion of good friends made the atmosphere lively. Lu Chun looked at the army. It was larger than the last time he left. It seemed that the army hall had been upgraded. Little Tong, did you level up this? The alchemy apprentice said proudly. That's right. Didn't you give me a lot of reputation? Big mountain, big idiot, 2 idiots, and the others are all very high level now. There's also the Kuei cows you brought back last time. With our strength, we can do whatever we want in the second heaven. I got the mountain Erzhan, 3 idiots, and the others to go and catch a lot of wild monsters. While they were at it, they also raised the level of the army to level 6. Can Mountain and the others catch wild beasts? The medical apprentice was now the vice captain and had the authority to appoint people. However, Mountain and the others probably did not have any intelligence and only knew how to fight. I got them some spirit enlightening grass and trained them for a while. Now, they have a certain level of spiritual intelligence, the medicine boy said casually. F***CK. Is that okay? Lu Chen widened his eyes. The medicine boy said discontentedly. Is it strange? Isn't this a very simple thing? The spirit enlightening grass is relatively rare, and it can only be found in the 5th celestial layer and above. Last time, Little Green said it was the young returning grass, but I knew she was wrong. Although the 2 herbs look almost identical, and even their medicinal effects are the same, the stem of the spirit enlightening grass has 4 more veins. I recognized it as spirit enlightening grass at a glance. Then I cultivated some. Lu Chun and Lu Yi were speechless. How could he see that there were 4 extra veins on the stem to the medicine boy? This was a very simple thing. However, to others, this was simply a fantasy. Well, in terms of medicinal herbs, the medicine boy was definitely the best. Just as the few of them were chatting, a few silly figures ran over. Lu Chen looked back. The mountain Erzhan, 3 idiots, 7 heads, 10 tigers. These army members who had accompanied Lu Chen to level up were all staring at him blankly. You guys, Captain. The mountain and Erzhan actually spoke. Awoo, awoo. The 3 strong gnolls stared at Lu Chen with their 6 small red eyes. Seven Head's head hung to the side with a horrified expression. Captain, 10 tigers directly pounced to Lu Chen's side and rubbed against Lu Chen to show their intimacy. They really recognized boss, Xiaoman said happily. Lu Chen's eyes were also a little red. They only gained a little spiritual intelligence after he left, but they recognized him. In other words, even if they did not gain spiritual intelligence, they still remembered him. Good, very good. You all gained spiritual intelligence. Lu Chen laughed excitedly. After the army leveled up, a new building appeared, the Martial Arts Hall. This was a place specially for army members to learn new skills. Currently, the army had more than 1,000 members. Under the management of the medicine boy, they were orderly and were still growing. Lu Chen told the medicine boy about the academy's herb field. Unexpectedly, the medicine boy did not want to go. Little Kwong, I kind of like it here, the medicine boy said. It's very safe here. I'm not lonely here at all, and I have a lot of things to do. You can give the academy's herb field to Little Green. I'll teach her the herbs I've organized in the past 2 days. Her comprehension is very high, so it won't be difficult for her to learn. If there are any herbs that you urgently need, you can directly go to the herb warehouse. I'll cultivate them. The difference between the medicine boy and Lu Yi was that the medicine boy could cultivate large amounts of herbs in a very short period of time. This was something that Lu Yi could not learn. However, with the army's herb warehouse, this problem could be solved. Lu Chen frowned. You really don't want to go to level 6? The medicine boy nodded. I can't bear to leave Shan and the 3 idiots. If I leave, they can only be walking corpses. I want to continue training them and let them have the intelligence of a normal person. Looking at the medicine boy's determined gaze, Lu Chen sighed. The medicine boy had spent more time with Shan and the 3 idiots than with him. It was normal that he could not bear to leave them. Little Kwong, it doesn't matter where I am. Besides, the academy's herb field serves the academy. I don't want to help others cultivate herbs. I hope you can agree to let me stay here. Lu Chen was the medicine boy's master. If he insisted, the medicine boy would still have to follow Lu Chen. However, Lu Chen would never force others. Even his ghost pet was no exception. Finally, he nodded. I respect your decision. By the way, I'm also looking for items to help you guys be reborn. When I've collected all of them, you, Little Green, and Xiaomin won't have to be ghost pets anymore. Yes, I know. Little Green told me that. The medicine boy's eyes were wet. After holding in for a long time, he finally opened his mouth. Boss, thank you. This guy actually called Lu Chen boss. This was the first time. He had never heard of an owner who would go to such extent for a ghost pet. Lu Chen smiled. What are you thanking me for? You're all my family. The medicine boy nodded heavily. Then he walked to Lu Chen's side and hugged Lu Chen's waist tightly. Yes. After saying that, he could not stop crying. Lu Chen touched his head and shook it. Okay, don't cry. I'm not crying. At night, Lu Chen rested alone in his room. The river of forgetfulness. Lu Chen's gaze was particularly serious. Meng Pe said that he had to wait until he had the strength to enter the 6th heaven before he could hope to take out the 2 drops of tears. This meant that there must be something guarding the river of forgetfulness. He took out the prize from the Prodigy tournament and made the final preparations for going to the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 1106. He used all the 300,000 appearance extraction scrolls and added them to the 3rd dimension. Lu Chen's current spiritual power was enough for him to use without using the soul body fusion scrolls. He added them to the 3rd dimension to increase his attack and stamina. Lu Chen chose to extract 9 wing from the advanced item extraction scrolls. The other equipment could be used in the soul body fusion scroll state, so there was no rush to extract them. Moreover, the Mount Advancement pill that Lu Chen had obtained from the Soul Martial Hall could only be used after 9 wing completed the extraction process. As the most important reward of the Prodigy competition, Lu Chen did not need the Tribulation Transcendence pill for now. Lu Chen directly gave the advanced immortal pill formula to Little Green. The 100,000 reputation points allowed Lu Chen's Dean reputation to rise from nameless to famous. I feel that other than the appearance extraction scrolls, there are no other substantial improvements. Lu Chen complained. Let's upgrade Nine-Winged. Then, Lu Chen went to an open area and summoned Nine-Winged. Now, Nine-Winged could be summoned without the need for soul-body fusion. Lu Chen took out the Mount Advancement pill and threw it to Nine-Winged. Nine-Winged opened its mouth and swallowed it. As soon as it swallowed the advancement pill, Nine-Winged's reddish-brown eyes trembled. It seemed that the advancement pill was changing Nine-Winged's body. Roar! With a furious roar, Nine-Winged could not control its strength and spat out a pillar of fire into the sky. In the distance, people looked at the pillar of fire in horror, their eyes full of shock. What's that? It seems to be near the Dragon Plains. Is this the appearance of a supreme treasure? Near the Spirit Condensation mountain range. Did you hear a sound just now? It sounded like a dragon's roar. Could it be that some powerful boss appeared? Lu Chen looked at Nine-Winged nervously. He did not know that Nine-Winged's evolution would cause such a huge commotion. Nine-Winged looked like it was in pain. It kept spitting fire into the sky, and its body began to expand. Even through its scales and skin, one could see its meridians emitting flames. Nine-Winged, are you all right? Lu Chen roared. However, Nine-Winged did not have the chance to pay attention to Lu Chen. His body was still undergoing extreme changes. Suddenly, the skin on Nine-Winged's back split open, and a section of white bone grew crazily, gradually forming the skeletal frame of a pair of bone wings. Soon after, veins extended from his cracked back and covered his skeletal wings. Then flesh and blood grew, and skin covered it. Before long, a new wing grew on Nine-Winged's back. The Nine-Winged celestial dragon had grown a 10th wing. At the same time, Nine-Winged's body had also grown by a third, reaching a length of over 200 meters. When a new pair of wings grew out, Nine-Winged finally stopped shooting out pillars of fire. It lay weakly beside Lu Chen, its reddish-brown eyes looking weakly at Lu Chen. Nine-Winged. Lu Chen hurriedly ran over to check on Nine-Winged. Are you all right? Nine-Winged shook his head weakly. It seemed like he was fine, but he was just too tired. Lu Chen immediately checked Nine-Winged status. Nine-Winged Celestial Dragon has evolved into 10-Winged Celestial Dragon. Movement speed increased by 150%. When flying, it ignores turbulence and vacuum. At the same time, it adds the status Dragon Ascension to the owner, permanently increasing the owner's attributes by 30%. After attributes increase, the owner's cultivation level will not be changed. 10-Winged Celestial Dragon Skill. Mount Dragon Aura. Mounts lower than the owner's level cannot fly in front of the 10-Winged Celestial Dragon. Dragon Shadow Storm. When flying, it induces air currents and rides the clouds. It can hide its whereabouts and cannot be seen by the naked eye. Explosive Fire Haste. Increases movement speed by 300% for a short period of time. Duration, 10 minutes. Cooldown, 300 minutes. Raging Fire Dragon Breath. Shoots flames, causing large area damage. Lu Chen looked at Nine-Winged. No, 10-Winged's new attributes and was speechless for a long time. After Nine-Winged's evolution, its movement speed had increased exponentially. It could ignore turbulence and vacuum, and it could even increase its own attributes. In that case, the attribute benefits for Nine-Winged's evolution were even greater than the 300,000 cash redemption coupons. With the addition of the creation bloodline, Lu Chen's attributes were 40% higher than others in the same situation. In addition, 10-Winged's Dragon Aura had returned. 9-Winged's level was already very high previously. Although it was not considered outstanding, it was still a top-notch mount. It was just not that outstanding. Now that 9-Winged had been upgraded to 10-Winged, when 10-Winged ascended to the sky in the future, the others would be forced to disembark. So powerful. Even Lu Chen could not help but sigh. It was indeed the only mount. Lu Chen leaned in front of the dragon's head and caressed 10-Winged's huge dragon head. He smiled and said, "Looks like I have to call you 10-Winged in the future. Have a good rest here today. Tomorrow, we'll go to the River of Forgetfulness." The next day, a black 10-winged dragon flew directly from Spirit Condensation Mountain. Countless people around were forced to land inexplicably. However, they could not see 10-winged shadow at all. They could only look in surprise at their various mounts lying on the ground and facing the same direction with their heads lowered, as if they were welcoming their king. Lu Qin stood on the dragon's head and felt the strong wind blowing in his face. 10-wing speed was much faster than before. Even Tai Shuo, which was known for its speed, could not keep up with 10-wing speed. After the college opens the teleportation gate, I can give Tai Shuo to Lu Qin muttered. The journey that was supposed to take almost an hour was now completed in less than 20 minutes. Lu Qin had already arrived above the Bridge of Helplessness. In midair, Lu Qin saw that the Bridge of Helplessness was crowded with people. Lu Qin kept 10-wing and flew to the forest at the side. He then walked out of the forest and appeared in front of the Bridge of Helplessness like a normal player. Coincidentally, there was a large group of more than 500 people in front of the Bridge of Helplessness that was preparing to cross it. So many people. It seems like a few large groups from a certain faction came together. Lu Qin walked past these groups and walked towards the Bridge of Helplessness. A few leaders were discussing. It seemed like Meng Po's conditions made them very conflicted. Meng Po did not rush them. Anyway, for her, she could afford to wait more than anyone else. She only looked at the back of the crowd as if she was waiting for someone. Only when she saw Lu Qin's figure did Meng Po smile. "You're here?" Everyone was surprised. Who was Meng Po talking to? They turned around and saw a tall man walking over calmly. Lu Qin walked in front of Meng Po and cupped his fists. "Senior Meng Po?" Meng Po nodded slightly. "You're a bit late." Lu Qin sighed. "It's not that I didn't want to come earlier. It's just that it's a long story." He originally wanted to come after passing the 5th layer of heavens. However, he was forced to enter the 6th layer of heavens. In other words, he did not rely on defeating the 5th layer of heaven's domain boss to enter the 6th layer of heavens. This did not match Meng Po's original requirements. Secondly, he established the Demonic Academy as soon as he reached the 6th layer of heavens. He did not have the chance to join the Immortal Academy. The Demonic Academy did not even open the teleportation gate to return to his original world. He could not return at all. "How's the underworld now?" Lu Qin asked. "It's recovering." Meng Po smiled. Her face was still full of wrinkles. However, this was not the first time Lu Qin and Meng Po met, so he did not feel that she was ugly. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. Lu Qin nodded. Their short conversation ended. Then, both of them looked at the river of forgetfulness under the Bridge of Helplessness at the same time. "Are you ready? The things below might scare you," Meng Po said. Lu Qin smiled. "Actually, there aren't many things that can scare me now." "Is that so? You still don't believe this old woman's words. Anyway, be prepared." Lu Qin nodded. "Thank you for the reminder, Senior." After saying that, Lu Qin jumped off the Bridge of Helplessness under everyone's shocked eyes. Chapter 11:07. That person jumped directly into the river of forgetfulness? The surrounding people were suddenly in an uproar. Didn't they say that people would die if they jumped in? The people who were crossing the Bridge of Helplessness did not care about their own matters and all rushed to the side of the Bridge of Helplessness. However, at this time, the river of forgetfulness's surface was calm. The river's surface was hazy, and the black color made the ripples caused by the person who jumped into the river unable to be seen clearly. Damn, this is the first time I've seen someone commit suicide in Jiutian. Sure enough, there are all kinds of people in Jiutian. At this time, Meng Po said faintly, "If you don't want to die, leave the Bridge of Helplessness last." Huh? The people looked at Meng Po in surprise, not knowing why she would say such a thing. I said, "If you don't want to be affected by the aftermath of the upcoming battle, leave the Bridge of Helplessness immediately. That kind of death can directly cause your brain to die." Everyone's face was filled with shock. At this time, the second heaven did not involve the concept of the physical body, but the players still maintained a neural connection with the real world. Even the NPC said so, so the people hurriedly left the Bridge of Helplessness. When they just left the bridge of helplessness, the originally calm river of forgetfulness finally became different. The river's surface began to ripple slightly and gradually set off an undercurrent. Then the entire river of forgetfulness shook violently. A loud rumbling sound came from the ground. What's going on? What's wrong with the river of forgetfulness? The people still did not know what was going on. Suddenly, the river's surface exploded. A column of water shot up to 100 meters high, and the entire lake's surface exploded violently. The black river water fell, causing the entire river of forgetfulness to become even more turbulent. "Look, there are two people on the river," someone shouted. The people hurriedly looked in the direction he was pointing. At this time, on the turbulent river, there were indeed two figures suspended. One of them had a bead floating beside him. It was the man who jumped into the river just now. Suspended beside Luchan was the water avoidance bead. With the help of the water avoidance bead, he could stand on the river's surface. However, the person opposite him did not rely on any magic treasure and stood directly on the turbulent river surface. However, at this time, neither of them made a move. Luchan looked at the person in front of him in shock and could not say a word for a long time. This person was a human elder. His entire body was emitting a black aura. His face was pale, but his expression was calm. He looked into Lu Chen's eyes without any emotion, as if he was a stranger. But when Lu Chen saw him, he found it hard to calm down. He finally understood Meng Po's words. If this was the person under the river of forgetfulness, then it really scared him. This person was Lu Chen's mentor and friend. He was the one who had saved Lu Chen back then, and had even sacrificed himself to help Lu Chen clear the Heaven's Punishment Tower. He was Mu Xian. Mu Xian. Lu Chen's hands trembled, his eyes wet. If it weren't for Mu Xian, he would have already died in the heavenly punishment chest formation of the immortal spirit mountain. If it weren't for Mu Xian, he wouldn't have been able to obtain the origin celestial devil mantra. After that, he relied on this mantra in all his fierce battles. It could be said that Mu Xian was his benefactor. Lu Chen had never forgotten this old friend of his. Even when he went to the underworld, he would still ask about Mu Xian's situation. But who would have thought that the protector of the river of forgetfulness was Mu Xian? Mu Xian, is that you? Lu Chen's eyes widened in disbelief. But Mu Xian didn't answer him. Instead, the black mist around him became thicker. Myriad underworld body. Mu Xian growled, his body suddenly erupting with terrifying spiritual energy. Strong winds raged, and the vast river of forgetfulness surged with shocking waves. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the day seemed like night. The surrounding people stared at the two people on the river, dumbfounded, their minds in chaos. Who are these people? They're only in a state, but they've already caused such a phenomenon? They're definitely not from the second heaven. They're like gods. Is that demon going to eat that man? How terrifying. On the bridge of helplessness, Meng Po's clothes fluttered in the wind. Even the area around her face was like rolling waves. She narrowed her eyes. Lu Chen, I told you you'd be scared. The protector of the river of forgetfulness will find the weakness in a person's heart. Looks like this person is your weakness. Lu Chen watched Mu Xian activate his amplification skill, and his eyelids twitched. The opponent of the river of forgetfulness was actually Mu Xian, but he didn't recognize him. If he hesitated any longer, he might die in this person's hands. Thinking of this, Lu Chen temporarily suppressed his agitated mood. No, you're not Mu Xian. But, Mu Xian, I'm sorry. Mu Xian was a loose immortal. Lu Chen didn't dare to be careless. Lu Chen growled, Divine Demon Symbiosis, Dragon God Form, Divine Demon Heaven's Might, Soul and Body is one. The surrounding people who were watching the show suddenly found themselves inexplicably entering a weakened state. Of course, even if there was no one here, the wild monster army's strength had greatly increased. They could also provide Lu Chen with attributes. Lu Chen used War, God's Possession, Demon Transformation, and other skills. Entering the complete form, Lu Chen's body also erupted with terrifying spiritual energy. The waves below the two of them crazily collided, and the entire river of forgetfulness was swept up by a violent whirlwind. Lu Chen's white hair fluttered in the wind. His whole body was covered in dragon scales, and he looked like a white-haired war god. My God, that man is actually so terrifying. What level of battle is this? The spectators had already shrunk into the distance, looking at the two people on the black river of forgetfulness in horror. At the same time, more and more level 2 players were attracted by the strange scene here, and they were all rushing towards the bridge of helplessness. However, Lu Chun didn't have time to care about this. Although Lu Chun promised Ma Bei not to cause too much of a commotion, he still had to fight this battle. A pink figure shot over from the distance. Her speed was so fast that it was difficult to see with the naked eye. This person's strength was definitely not something a level 2 player should have. That person quietly blended into the crowd, and no one noticed. They only inexplicably saw a veiled woman suddenly appear beside them. Someone looked back and was attracted by her bright eyes that were like stars. They couldn't move their eyes away. What beautiful eyes! The person who came was Tian Xener. She had also arrived at level 2. However, as the only daughter of the Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace, one of the strongest forces in level 6, the shock on her face was no less than the others. It's the soul of eternal hell. What is Lu Chen doing? Why is he fighting the soul of eternal hell? The soul of eternal hell is the Holy Spirit that guards the river of forgetfulness. Although he's not an immortal cultivator, he's invincible below the level of a true immortal. Lu Chun didn't know that Tian Xena had also come. At this moment, he needed to focus all his energy on dealing with this Mu Xian in front of him. Mu Xian, I didn't have the chance to spar with you when you were alive, but here, we're going to become opponents. Lu Chun felt a pang of pain in his heart. He knew that the creature in front of him might not be Mu Xian, but the other party's appearance and movements were exactly the same as Mu Xian. He couldn't help but overlap the two. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with tears. Fine. To me, you're both a teacher and a friend. You watch me grow up step by step. Today, Lu Chun will prove. Your judgment back then was right. With a furious roar, Lu Chen's eyes were filled with killing intent. Emptiness of gods and demons are. Chapter 1108. Lu Chen's left arm quickly demonized like a demon's arm, but it was covered in dragon scales. Suddenly, Mu Xian moved. 9 steps to end. Mu Xian's figure disappeared and appeared in front of Lu Chen in the next second. A thin sword appeared in Mu Xian's hand. 6 directions divine / hexagram sword. 6 swords combined into one. The speed was so fast that it gave people the illusion that all 6 swords were used at the same time. Lu Chun couldn't distinguish the order of the 6 swords even when he activated Heaven's Eye. So fast. Void Guard. The afterimage of the 6 light sword virtual shadow directly hit the great void arm, and a shocking wave of spiritual power erupted. Some of the surrounding players were even pushed back and lost HP. The afterimage took more than 20,000 HP? Are you kidding me? We're already standing 1,000 meters away. Everyone, retreat further. No one can stand on the shore. It's too fast. My God, this level of battle, what level is it? At this time, the battle didn't stop for a moment because of the spiritual energy explosion. Mu Xian stabbed his sword again. Star-shattering sword intent. A sharp sword aura appears toward Lu Chun at a very close distance. 9 steps to the void. Lu Chun dodged quickly, and a red spear appeared in his hand. Spear Wei. Hellfire Spear Ultimate Firmament. Phantom Flash. Mu Xian immediately used a teleportation skill and left an illusion in place. His original body attacked Lu Chen's back. 8-sided annihilation. Earthquake. Mu Xian approached again, but this time Lu Chun was prepared. He stomped on the river and a huge water wall exploded. It was a spectacular sight. Mu Xian was sent flying by the water wall. 8-sided annihilation. Backstrike. Lu Chun flashed behind Mu Xian. Cancel backstrike. Spear Wei. Hellfire Star Shattering Spear. Mu Xian's reaction was very fast. He didn't wait for Lu Chen's attack and changed his move. Imperial sword, astral form. Holy sword, Buddha lotus. His body disappeared into the sword chi. At the same time, the long sword spun wildly like a blooming flower, making it difficult for Lu Chun to attack. This move was both offensive and defensive. If Lu Chun acted rashly, it was very likely that he would be the one to be injured. Divine Devil, astral body. Lu Chun shouted in a low voice, but he did not stop attacking. With the support of the godly devil astral body, his attack speed was even more terrifying. He actually wanted to forcefully attack the Buddhist lotus. At the same time, the godly devil astral body successfully forced Mu Xian's main body out. Mu Xian did not pause for a moment. He turned around and slashed 3 times. 6 directions, godly slash. 3 swords of heaven and man. When Lu Chun saw the sword chi approaching, he had no choice but to give up on attacking. He used 9 void steps to pull away. The 3-sword chi blasted towards the forest in the distance. Not long after, there was a loud explosion. Then a mountain in the distance was directly split into 4. The mountain collapsed. Everyone looked at the mountain behind them in horror. He had only casually used 3-sword chi in an emergency, but he had actually split the mountain in half. If those 3 swords had exploded here, they would have been finished. Oh my God, who can tell me who they are? This is too terrifying. A fight between immortals, a real fight between immortals. Their strength is definitely above the 4th heaven. Are these the super experts of the Jiuqian? Oh my God, I thought that the boss of the 1st heaven was already very strong. Only now do I know that in front of these super experts, I am not even an ant. Tian Xian shook her head. These 2 people were not just above the 4th heaven. Lu Chen's strength was at the peak of the 6th heaven. As for the soul of the underworld, below the true immortal realm, even those in the human king realm and itinerant immortal realm were no match for it. No matter how strong the Nether King was, he did not dare to touch the bridge of helplessness and the river of forgetfulness. Lu Chun, what are you trying to do? You actually dared to provoke the soul of the underworld. Tian Xian was also worried for Lu Chun. At this moment, in just a few seconds, Lu Chun and Mu Xian had already exchanged blows many times. Both sides were surrounded by danger, and the speed of their attacks and defenses was too fast. At this moment, both of them were distancing themselves from each other. Otherwise, if they continued to fight like this, just watching them would be suffocating. Lu Chun stared at Mu Xian. His opponent was too strong, and his fighting skills were also extremely exquisite. He had suddenly used the divine demon astral body, which was originally his trump card, but his opponent had seen through his plan and directly abandoned the sacred sword lotus. Not only did this cause Lu Chen's plan to fail, but his divine demon astral body was probably going to be wasted for more than 10 seconds. The strength of this Mu Xian was above that of the king of hell. Are you really Mu Xian? Lu Chen said coldly. This time his opponent actually spoke. Is there a difference whether I am or not? I saw that you did not hesitate at all when you attacked. Lu Chun stared at him. Looks like you're not the real Mu Xian. Then where is Mu Xian? He is already dead, don't you know? He died by your hands. Just as Lu Chun was stunned, his opponent attacked again. Starry sky, godly travel. In an instant, Mu Xian was in front of Lu Chun again. This guy's movement skill was too fast. Fortunately, he did not know how long Lu Chen's divine demon astral body could last. Now that Lu Chun was still in the divine demon astral body state, his speed was not slow. 9 void steps, but this time Lu Chun did not dodge too far away. He wanted to use the last few seconds of the divine demon astral body to deal damage. You are too slow, Mu Xian shouted coldly. 6 directions divine slash, divine slaying, divine demon lotus heart, inner demon, sky-piercing sword. Lu Chun instantly pulled out the divine demon limitless sword and used his strongest sword move at the same time. This time, the 2 killer moves collided. The entire river of forgetfulness exploded with black water, and heaven and earth shook. Dark clouds rolled in the sky, covering the sun. All the players could not open their eyes due to the strong wind, and they were forced to retreat step by step. Countless trees behind them were uprooted. Is he crazy? Is he still human? Oh my God, this is a battle between gods. With a loud explosion, the two figures on the river of forgetfulness were sent flying at the same time. However, both of them only retreated halfway before forcefully stopping their momentum and colliding with each other again. Million Buddhas returned to origin. Heaven and earth returned seal. Mu Xian used his strongest seal, and a huge Buddha hand blasted toward Luchun. Luchun had never seen such a terrifying move before. He did not dare to be careless. With the inner demon causing trouble, he also used his strongest attack. Buddha body clone, void attack, dragon piercing the 9 heavens. In the void attack mode, dragon piercing the 9 heavens also became a seal attack. A dragon claw directly blasted toward the Buddha hand. The two powerful seals collided, and heaven and earth instantly turned white. All the water in the river of forgetfulness was blasted into the sky, revealing countless bones on the riverbed. The two of them were directly blasted to the ground like 2 cannonballs and directly sank into the riverbed. Just when everyone thought that the battle was finally over, 2 figures simultaneously jumped out of the bottomless pit. Mu Xian was furious, and the black gas around him exploded with an even more terrifying aura. He raised both his hands. Kid, you've angered me. River of forgetfulness, soul. The black water of the river of forgetfulness turned into endless black gas and crazily poured into Mu Xian's body. When the water evaporated, Lu Chun suddenly saw 2 shining spots on the riverbed. That girl's tears? However, the thing he was looking for was right in front of him, but Mu Xian was like a huge mountain in front of him, exploding with shocking battle power. Die, million underworld soul. Endless black gas came crashing down like a tsunami. Lu Chen's chest violently rose and fell. Mu Xian was too strong. It seemed that he had to use that move. Fortunately, the second heaven was a war soul and could be revived after death. The surrounding players should not die directly. You have the million underworld soul, but I have the underworld earth fire. Lu Chen roared, burn for me, earth fire burning heaven. Chapter 1109. The battle at the River of Forgetfulness had attracted a large number of curious players. Earthly fire burns the heavens. Lu Chen roared. The riverbed of the River of Forgetfulness suddenly shook violently. Then, the ground was instantly incinerated by the flames that erupted from the ground. Lu Chun had already intended to concentrate his attacks near Mu Xian. However, the strength of the players at Stage 2 was too low. Even the surrounding heat was enough to burn them to death. Damn, didn't you say that would be fine if we stayed further away? A player beside Tion Xn cursed. His shield was instantly destroyed, and he was immediately incinerated. In the entire vicinity of the River of Forgetfulness, only Meng, Pe, and Tion Xn, who were on the Bridge of Helplessness, had the ability to resist the aftershocks. Just the heat from the earthly fire was already so terrifying, let alone the center of the earthly fire burns the heavens. At this moment, Mu Xian was already surrounded by a sea of fire. However, his souls of the underworld were also charging toward the raging flames. The black fog and the flames were like 2 enormous dragons that covered the sky, colliding and canceling each other out in midair. Tion Xn only felt that the whole world was shaking. These 2 guys are too terrifying. Tion Xin had no choice but to increase her defense. A little person appeared in her hand. It was the size of a thumb and looked like a human elder. It stood in her palm. After the little person appeared, he immediately summoned a spiritual shield and wrapped it around Tion Xn. Little girl, this fire is a little fierce. The little person was also watching the battle at the River of Forgetfulness. He's the guy you like? Tion Xn blushed and said softly, yes. He actually came to find trouble with the souls of the underworld. The little person looked at Lu Chen's back and narrowed his eyes. He has some guts. It's a pity that he's a human. The human race is a trash race that doesn't even have a godly pulse. Tian Xin hurriedly defended Lu Chun. Master, the human race is weak, but he can fight against the gods and demons with a mortal body. Doesn't that mean that he's very powerful? The old man looked at Tian Xin with a strange gaze. Oh, you're not even married yet, and you're already defending him? I'm not saying that he's weak. I'm just afraid that your future children will waste your purest celestial bloodline. It's his business that he's strong. But if the child doesn't have a pure celestial bloodline, the child might not be like him. Master had even considered the child. If Tian Xin was not wearing a veil, her face would have turned red. Master, what child? He doesn't even know who I am. Tian Xin said angrily. You're even planning to use a honey trap. My lass is so beautiful. She has the looks and the figure. All right, lass, you're a C-cup now, right? TSK, TSK, TSK. No one in the world can compare to your figure. Once she took off her clothes, how could the child be far away? Unless he can't. The old man seriously considered this possibility. Master, Tian Xin also couldn't stand such a dirty master. Her face darkened. How do you know me? Did you secretly ask around again? What do you mean by secretly inquiring about it? I asked Xiaolian about it. As a master, I must always be concerned about the growth of my disciple. Let me tell you, it's not good for a girl to have too big a chest. It's hard to be flexible in a fight, especially when fighting against experts. But if it's too small, it's not attractive. Yours is just right. Master, Tian Xin almost broke down. I shouldn't have called you out. The old man didn't feel angry at all. He glanced at Meng Pe, who was on the bridge of helplessness. Coincidentally, she was also looking in his direction. That old woman is still here? The old man muttered. Xin let me tell you, Meng Pe was also a flower back then. Her figure was much better than yours. Master, didn't you say that a girl's chest can't be too big? Can you stop messing things up? Just help me block the earth fire. Can you stop talking so much? Tian Xin didn't have the energy to complain. The old man chuckled. Okay. I won't say any more. Let's see if that kid can win first. On the battlefield, Lu Chun and Mu Xian were in a stalemate. Soul of the 10,000 underworld against the earth fire burning the heavens. The monstrous flames and the pitch-black fog constantly canceled each other out, as if there was no end to it. Both sides' spiritual power had reached a terrifying level, which was why they could maintain such a terrifying consumption of spiritual power. After a full 10 minutes, the earth fire finally gained the upper hand. It really is the underworld earth fire. Mu Xian's eyes widened. The underworld earth fire also had a restraining effect on him. Otherwise, he was absolutely confident that he could defeat Lu Chun. I crawled out from hell. Die for me. Lu Chun roared, and the flames instantly rose. The myriad underworld soul was defeated like a collapsing mountain and was instantly engulfed by the flames. He won. That's quite easy. The little person in Tian Xin's hand said leisurely, I didn't expect that guy's flames to be the underworld earth fire. Even the myriad underworld soul couldn't withstand it. It's considered a trick. Tian Xin didn't dare to continue her master's words. Based on her understanding of her master, if she continued, he would quickly continue the conversation. Moreover, no matter what the topic was, he would be able to continue talking. The best way was to let him talk alone. The earth fire burns the heavens had directly depleted Lu Chen's spiritual power. He panted heavily as he watched Mu Xian burn in the flames. He couldn't bear it. However, he also knew that he couldn't give Mu Xian a second chance. He kept telling himself in his mind that that person wasn't Mu Xian. Attacking the void, sky-piercing sword. A white light flashed, and Lu Chun directly pierced through Mu Xian, who was struggling in the underworld earth fire. Perfectly sheathing his sword, Lu Chun glanced in the direction of the riverbed. His Buddha avatar was standing there. The two avatars had already obtained the 2 golden teardrops. When the avatar returned, Lu Chun already had 2 golden crystals in his hand. Were these the memories of that girl? Just as Lu Chun was about to leave, a familiar voice came from behind him. Lu Chun, you become so strong. Lu Chun jerked his head back. The one who spoke was Mu Xian. However, his voice was completely different from before. It was no different from the real Mu Xian. Mu Xian. Lu Chen's eyes widened. His mind was in chaos. Mu Xian turned around and smiled at Lu Chun, just like when they first met on Divine Beast Mountain. Don't blame yourself. You didn't kill me. The river of forgetfulness also contains a trace of my memories. The soul of Myriad Underworld won't die. He only used my memories to duplicate me. When the soul of Myriad Underworld left, I regained a trace of consciousness. Mu Xian, where are you now? Mu Xian smiled. I've already been destroyed. This is a remnant of my soul. Lu Chen's eyes were moist. Is there no way to revive you? The dead can't be revived. Without becoming a true immortal, everyone has to face their final destination. I have no regrets, Mu Xian said calmly. However, his body was rapidly dissipating. To be able to see you again and see that you still have your original heart is the greatest consolation. I didn't misjudge you back then, oh, right? If it's convenient, help this girl. She's the one I've let down the most. With that, Mu Xian's body completely dissipated. Chapter 11:10. Seeing Mu Xian's soul dissipate, Lu Chun let out a long sigh. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. In the end, Mu Xian was gone. Even Lu Chun could not do anything about it. But he left behind a mystery. Was this girl the one Mu Xian felt sorry for? What was going on? Mu Xian, whether it's for you or for myself, I will not leave her alone this time. Lu Chun said softly and jumped back onto the bridge of helplessness. The 2 golden crystals were in his hands. He finally had the chance to see who the owner of the tears was. Senior Mengpa, how do I check? Lu Chun asked. Mengpa smiled. Leave it to me. Lu Chun handed the 2 teardrop-shaped crystals to Mengpa. Mengpa waved her hand, and the 2 teardrops floated in front of them. Then, a few images appeared. The images were from a first-person perspective. Lu Chun could not see the owner of the memories. He could only check them one by one. The ancient battlefield. She was transported to an unfamiliar arena. This was her first time participating in an ancient battlefield competition. She was nervous and excited. I hope my opponent is strong. However, when her opponent appeared, she almost broke down. It had the body of a large spider, and its 8 slender legs were like sharp thorns. Behind it was a thick snake tail that was several meters long. This spider also had the upper body of a knoll, and a head floated to the side. Upon closer inspection, the head was even more terrifying. It was a tiger's head with a pair of wooden horns. Its eyes were red. She had never seen such a terrifying monster in the Jiutian. And this terrifying creature was still letting out muffled cries of ghost, don't come over. This time, she did not even have the courage to fight such a terrifying creature. She immediately fled. When she returned to her own world, she did not hesitate to challenge the more difficult ancient battlefield to avoid that terrifying creature. However, when she saw that monster again, she completely broke down and immediately withdrew from the competition. She met that guy 3 times in a row. It was as if a demon had its eyes on her. For the next few days, that terrifying head would appear in her dreams and revolve around her. Next was the scene of the second heaven. She was currently farming in the wild with Xiao Tian, Hashiman, and the others. Their group was very strong. The 5 of them could already pull 3 or 4 monsters together. At this speed, they would be able to reach the main city of the sacred mountain very soon. However, just as everyone was happily farming, several hundred silver moon werewolves suddenly charged out from afar. After a bitter battle, the team was wiped out. The person who pulled the large group of monsters in front of them was a young human in his 20s. Later, she found out that the kid was called Solipsistic. After that, he offended the sacred mountain and was hunted by them. But they also had more interactions with each other later on. She learned that Solipsistic had been killed by a super powerful skill on the immortal spirit mountain, and her mood fell to the extreme. However, she still had the mission of her family and could not stop. She went to Solipsistic's Earth Alliance and handed over the equipment that he left with her to the Wild Waves Guild. She also learned about solipsistic's past from Lung Nual and the others. She understood solipsistic more and more, but the more she understood, the more important he was in her heart. Solipsistic seemed to be a cold person, but when the Earth players were besieged by Stage 2 players, and when the powerhouses of the Heart Refining Academy came to kill the Earth players, Solipsistic would always be the first to stand up. He silently protected the Earth. The scene changed again. That time, the Wood Mansion's team fought against the Stage 3 expert of the Heart Refining Academy. She finally risked everything for that person and fought the Stage 3 world expert Green Wolf to the death. Fortunately, Solipsistic arrived in time. After defeating Green Wolf, Lu Chen killed a large number of Earth players. She immediately saw through Lu Chen's intentions. He wanted to draw a clear line between himself and the Earth players so that his enemies would not find the Earth players again. That time, she and Solipsistic sat at the peak of the mountain and watched the sunset together. They chatted about unimportant topics, but they did not feel awkward at all. It was a comfortable and natural situation. Seeing this, Lu Chen already knew who this girl was. Wood Mansion's Jiao, because Mengpa would delete all her memories of Lu Chen, even the memories of when she first met Lu Chen in his monster form in the ancient battlefield were sealed. They had interacted in the Stage 2 and Stage 2, but after the Stage 2, Lu Chen did not have any news of her. Jiao, Lu Chen murmured. She regarded him as the most important person, but he did not know. Do you know who that girl is? Mengpa looked at Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded blankly. Her memories have not ended yet. Continue watching. Lu Chen was a little surprised. Didn't Mengpa delete only the information related to him? That was probably the extent of his interactions with Jiao. With doubts, Lu Chen continued watching. This was an elegant boudoir. Two men pushed open the door and entered. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was actually Mu Xian. Jiao, father, grandfather, Jiao, you will be going to Jutian soon. Are you ready? The middle-aged man's expression was strange, as if he had a lot on his mind. Father, I am ready. But what treasure does the family want me to cultivate? The girl looked very expectant. Mu Xian sighed. Jiao, I was just about to tell you about this. Jiao also noticed that her grandfather's expression was a little strange. She frowned. Grandfather, what do you want to say? The family's test results are out. Mu Xian could not continue. It was Jiao father who continued. Your body is suitable to carry that treasure. Jiao could not help but take a few steps back. This news was like a bolt from the blue. Father, grandfather, you were talking about the dark erosion. Her father's eyes were red. He pursed his lips and nodded. After a long time, he said, the dark erosion is a treasure left behind by my Mu Manor's ancestors. However, no one in the family has a compatible physique. I did not expect Jiao to. Mu Xian also had a lonely expression. The one he loved the most was Jiao, but fate had arranged things in such a way. He was caught off guard. Jiao, grandfather is useless. In the end, I cannot become a true immortal. I cannot save the Taiwu star. I can only rely on you. I always say that the most precious thing to a person is the right to choose. But I did not allow you to choose. I am sorry, Jiao. The scene changed. The girl was already standing in front of the bridge of helplessness. Faced with Granny Meng's harsh demands, Xiao Tian suggested that the family take out some gold coins. For the Mu Manor, this was still something they could take out. However, Jiao stopped her brother. Brother, there's no need. Jiao, we do not need to forget the most important person. Xiao Tian said, puzzled. Jiao faintly smiled. Her smile was bleak and helpless. That thing will sooner or later devour my consciousness. I would rather leave my most precious memories here. At the very least, this proves that I once existed. Seeing this, Lu Chen was even more shocked. Others had no choice but to give up their most precious memories. But Jiao chose to forever seal her most precious memories in the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 11:11. The truth was finally out, and all the doubts were finally settled. What treasure did Jiao have? Why Lu Chen hadn't heard from Jiao for so long? Why did Mu Xian feel like he owed Jiao? Everything was clear now. It wasn't that Jiao couldn't afford to cross the bridge of helplessness. As the Mu Manor's first daughter, 1,000,000 gold coins wasn't something the Mu Manor couldn't afford. Mu Xian had said that he owed Jiao the most. It turned out that it was because of the treasure called Dark Erosion. The Mu Manor's newcomers all carried treasures with them when they came out for training. Jiao treasure was the Dark Erosion. This also explained why Mu Xian had hoped that Lu Qian would marry Jiao. He had hoped that Lu Qian could help Jiao. However, Lu Qian didn't know anything at that time. After that, he hadn't even seen Jiao. Moreover, for Lu Qian, even if she said she liked him in front of him, it was likely that something unexpected would happen, not to mention hiding it in her heart. He definitely wouldn't be able to tell. Jiao? Lu Qian frowned. Senior Meng, do you know what the Dark Erosion is? Meng looked at Lu Qian and pondered for a moment before saying, the Jiuqian has endless opportunities. It has existed for countless years, so there are many things that didn't originally exist in the Jiuqian. However, over the long years, whether it was naturally formed or some other world that invaded the Jiuqian, they all became a part of this place. Lu Qian frowned. He had too much right to say about these things that didn't belong to the Jiuqian. Senior Meng, you mean that the Dark Erosion didn't originally belong to the Jiuqian? Things that didn't belong to the Jiuqian were all abnormally powerful. This was obvious just by looking at the little fur ball. It was an existence that could devour Jiuqian. It's not hard to tell from the child's memories. As time passed, it would devour, take over. I don't know how to describe it. In short, it would occupy the child's consciousness. It should have a consciousness and an extremely terrifying thing. Devouring Jiao consciousness. Lu Qian's eyelids twitched. Unfortunately, Lu Qian found out too late. According to Meng, that girl might have already become his enemy. It was all because he hadn't arrived in time. Senior Meng, do you know where Jiao is now? I'm not sure, but if the Dark Erosion awakens, you might be able to see her soon. After all, you have the sky-devouring, god-slaying rat, which is a creature similar to the Dark Erosion. You know that 2 tigers cannot live on the same mountain, don't you? Lu Qian furrowed his brows. Could it be that, it should be the Dark Erosion would harm the little fur ball? From the looks of it, whether it was for Jiao or Mu Xian or the little fur ball, he needed to get rid of this hidden danger. Lu Qian carefully put away the 2 crystals and looked around. The water of the river of forgetfulness, which had almost evaporated, actually formed new water on its own. It was just that at this moment, the water of the river of forgetfulness had already regained its calm. The riverbank had already collapsed, and the river of forgetfulness had become even wider than before. His gaze landed on a girl over there. He had already noticed before. How could there be anyone in the second heaven who could withstand the residual power of his earth fire? It was just that he had been fighting with the soul of 10,000 underworld at that time, so he hadn't paid much attention. After bidding farewell to Meng, Lu Qian flew towards Tian Xen. It's the Dark Erosion. The little person in Tian Xen's hand had a serious expression, but before it could say anything, it saw Lu Qian coming over. Xen, he's here. Do you see? He has other women. If you really like him, I won't object. But if you want to get him, you have to be fast. You have to use any means necessary to succeed. Master, Tian Xen stomped her feet. Her master was driving her crazy. Okay, I won't say anything else. I'll leave first. After the little person finished speaking, it suddenly disappeared from Tian Xen's hand. Before it left, it said, Xen, do your best. I'll depend on you to carry my grand disciple. At that moment, Lu Qian had already arrived in front of Tian Xen. When he saw her, Lu Qian's eyes were filled with surprise. It's you? What are you doing here? Tian Xen's mind was in a mess because of her master's words. Now that Lu Qian was standing in front of her, she couldn't help but feel nervous. I followed you. No. Xen realized that she had let it slip and hurriedly corrected herself. No, that it's like this. I just happened to be at the second heaven to settle some matters. I saw a fight here, so I came over to take a look. Who knew it was you? Haha, what a coincidence. Lu Chen's brows furrowed. This woman was the young mistress of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. She also came to the second heaven to settle some matters? That's really quite a coincidence. Lu Chen muttered, Sai, Tian Xen don't tell anyone about my fight with the soul of 10,000 world just now. Zhong Xinggu is afraid that I'll come out and cause trouble. The commotion just now was a little too big. Tian Xen was secretly delighted. Lu Chun actually wanted her to help keep a secret. He was treating her as one of his own. Don't worry, I definitely won't tell anyone. In that, let's leave this place first. I'm afraid that more people will come later and find us. We'll be in trouble. We need to keep a low profile. Keep a low profile? Tian Xen couldn't help but sneak a glance at Lu Chun. Why didn't you keep a low profile just now? However, now is also a good opportunity to leave with Lu Chun. Lu Chun directly summoned Ten-Winged. Come, I'll take you with me. Where are you going? Tian Xen stared with wide eyes at the flying dragon that Lu Chun was sitting on, speechless for a long time. It was her first time seeing a 10-winged heavenly dragon. Didn't you say that we need to keep a low profile? It's fine. When we're on 10-winged, others can't see us. Let's hurry up and leave this place first. Tian Xen got on the mount. 10-winged seemed to be a little dissatisfied with a stranger riding on it and let out a roar. 10-winged, why is your temper even worse than before? She's my friend. Lu Chun patted 10-winged. Only then did 10-winged settle down, spread its wings, and soared into the sky. The two of them casually landed in a dense forest. Lu Chun said to Tian Xen, all right, we're far enough from the bridge of helplessness. Are you still going to stay in the second heaven? Tian Xen didn't answer directly. Are you done with your business? Lu Chun sighed. I'm done here, but I'm going to look for Jiu. Tian Xen also saw the girl's memories and frowned. But once the dark erosion awakens, her growth speed is extremely fast. She shouldn't be in the second heaven anymore. Lu Chun nodded. When I met her in the second heaven, it was already a few years ago. Even if the dark erosion didn't happen, she should have gone to a higher heaven domain long ago. Previously, I heard that she had been in my hometown's territory. I guess she might have come to the lower realm. So, I plan to go to a higher heaven domain to take a look. Tian Xen had seen Jiu memories. Originally, she didn't have a good impression of Jiu. After all, she was a love rival. However, after seeing Jiu's situation, Tian Xen also became interested in this girl. Moreover, before Master left, he had mentioned the dark erosion very seriously. Something that could make Master value it so much was definitely not a small matter. Then how are you going to go to the third heaven? Go back to the sixth heaven first, then teleport to the third heaven? Lu Chun shook his head. I'm afraid that Zhong Xinggu won't let me use the lower realm's teleportation so frequently. So, I plan to use another teleportation gate. Another teleportation gate? Where is it? Yes. With that, Lu Chun looked at the towering heaven-reaching tower not far away. There. Chapter 11:12. Why didn't I think of that? Tian Xen stammered. I'm done here. I'm going to the advanced heavenly region to take a look. Lu Chun looked at Tian Xen in surprise. What a coincidence. But I'm in a weakened state now. I'll need 12 hours to recover. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. Late at night, Lu Chun and Tian Xen arrived at the second heaven of Tong Tian Tower. They didn't expect there to be so many people here. Many teams were making their final preparations in front of the Tong Tian Tower. Everyone, pay attention. We must strictly follow the pre-battle arrangements. Don't mess up after encountering the boss. Check if you have enough healing potions and chi mixing pills. This boss is very difficult to kill. We can't afford any problems. Seeing how nervous these people were, Lu Chun couldn't help but think of himself. They were all newbies. They hadn't even seen the tip of the iceberg of the ninth heaven. At this moment, many people's gazes fell on Tian Xen. This woman only revealed her eyes, and many men couldn't help but peek. Wow, what a beautiful woman. She's like a fairy. Who is she? Why haven't I seen her before? Her eyes are so beautiful. They're so clear and pure. Being stared at by a group of people, Tian Xen was a little nervous. She followed closely beside Lu Chen. Nameless, they're all looking at me. I'm a little scared. Can I hold on to you? After saying that, she looked at Lu Chen with a pair of big, pitiful eyes, full of expectation. Lu Chen smiled. Miss, if you really want to fight, they won't even be enough to fill the gaps between your teeth. But I'm still a girl. In Jiuqian, the strength of women is also very strong. Tian Xien was speechless after hearing Lu Chen's words. She couldn't find a new excuse. This guy, he decisively rejected her. It seemed like her first attempt had failed. Tian Xien could only find a new topic to talk about. Nameless, I haven't tried to challenge the Tong Tian Tower in the lower realm. Is it really okay? I don't know either. However, the Jiuqian didn't say that we can't repeat the challenge. As long as we don't bring anyone with us and don't think about dropping any equipment, we'll be fine as long as we don't disrupt the Second Heaven's order. Tian Xien nodded and could only follow behind Lu Chen. Speaking of grade 2 domain bosses, Lu Chen still remembered that he had defeated Master Spiritual Martial Apothecary in the Tong Tian Tower. It was also that time that Little Green had decided to follow him. After the Spiritual Martial Apothecary's hidden quest was completed, he wondered if the current boss had changed. Just as the two of them were about to enter the Tong Tian Tower, someone suddenly called out to Lu Chen. Hey, brat, you want to enter Tong Tian Tower? Just the two of you? Lu Chen turned around and saw a long-faced human. His gaze was fixed on Tian Xien. You should know that there's only one person in District 19 who can solo the Tong Tian Tower. Are you going to bring such a beautiful girl to die with you? Lu Chen smiled. What does it have to do with you whether I go to Tong Tian Tower or not? That person snorted. Your life and death has nothing to do with me. However, I can't watch this beauty suffer with you. This boss has double pain damage. Pain damage? Lu Chen had almost forgotten that there was such a thing in grade 2 heaven. After all, he was fighting with his original body. Beauty, come with our team. Our team is very strong. This time, we'll definitely pass. That man looked at Tian Xien with a dark expression. Scram! Tian Xien shouted. However, she soon realized that something was wrong. Tian Xien was the young mistress of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, one of the strongest forces in grade 6 heaven. Although she treated Lu Chen like this, she was definitely fiercer than anyone else. Even in grade 6 heaven, no one dared to have any ideas about her. It would be strange if Tian Xien had a good face when meeting such a person. However, she was so angry that she forgot that Lu Chen was right beside her. Wouldn't that be letting Lu Chen see her unladylike side? It's over. As expected, Lu Chen looked at Tian Xien in shock. This was completely different from the impression she gave him at the beginning. However, her fierce look made Lu Chen look at her in a new light. However, the person who was scolded by Tian Xien had a dark expression. You actually dare to talk to me like that? Do you know who we are? Tian Xien mind was filled with the problem of her image. She didn't have time to care about him. You'll be scared to death if I tell you. That person had a proud look on his face. Have you heard of Solipsistic? He's the only super expert who can solo Purgatory difficulty Heaven Domain bosses. Our guild has teamed up with his Wild Wave guild several times. Lu Chen couldn't react in time. These people had teamed up with Wild Wave before? No, Wild Wave's people had already gone to 4th or 5th heaven. Moreover, Wild Wave's core members had their own teams. It was possible that they had teamed up with some outer guild members. However, was there a need to say this out loud? Let me tell you, Wild Wave is our friend. Lu Chen felt his scalp go numb. What kind of friend was this? I'm sorry, Wild Wave doesn't have friends like you. Lu Chen didn't waste any more words and directly revealed his ID. The only golden ID, Wild Wave Guild Leader, Solipsistic. When this ID appeared, everyone's attention was drawn to it. It's Wild God. Golden ID, that's right, it can't be wrong. No one else has this ID. Only Wild God has a golden ID. Oh my God, this is Wild God himself. That long-faced man was stunned on the spot as his entire body trembled. Lu Chen's guess was right. They had teamed up with some of Wild Wave's lower-level disciples once or twice. They had nothing to do with Wild Wave at all. Usually, they could use this to scare people, but now they were facing Wild Wave's guild leader. It was the legend of Second Heaven District 19, Solipsistic. Lu Chen looked at that person indifferently and said coldly, "Any more questions?" No more questions. Wild God, yes, I was blind. I didn't know this fairy sister was your woman. If I knew, I wouldn't have dared to offend her. Please calm down, Wild God." These words were very pleasing to Tian Xin's ears. She pulled Lu Chen's sleeve and said, "Let them go. It seems like they didn't do it on purpose." Lu Chen smiled slightly. He didn't plan to argue with these newcomers. "Got it. Let's go and take a look at the third heaven." After saying that, he directly stepped into Tong Tian Tower. Looking at Lu Chen's back, the long-faced man realized that his back was completely wet. Was this the pressure brought by Wild God? Even if he didn't have the intention to make a move, just seeing his name was enough to make people respect him to such an extent. Why did Wild God come back to challenge the tower? Was Wild God's level killed by someone and had to challenge the tower again? All right, they're the live broadcast of the Sky Domain boss battle. Let's take a look. Someone shouted loudly. People quickly went offline. However, just as they saw the live broadcast on the Galaxy's official website, the screen showed a man in a purple robe lying on the ground. Wild God was leading the beautiful woman into the portal. The rumors of Wild God being killed by someone else were dispelled. The battle hadn't even started, but it was already over. Chapter 11:13. There is no news of Jiao in the third and fourth heavens. At the fourth heavens, Lu Chen realized that he could no longer challenge the Tong Tian Tower. He couldn't enter the Tong Tian Tower. Why can't I go up? Lu Chen was a little anxious. Maybe there's a qualitative change in the fifth heavens, Tian Xin said. Lu Chen thought about it. That might be the problem. Damn it, the Wood Manor said that she might be in the fifth heavens, but I can't go there. Even the Wood Manor didn't know where Jiao was. They only knew that she entered the fifth heavens a few months ago. Now, Lu Chen was sure that Jiao was controlled by the dark erosion. Otherwise, the Wood Manor would know where Jiao was. Starting from the fifth heavens, the body transmigrated. That meant that as long as Jiao didn't return to her original world, the Wood Manor wouldn't know where she was. Seeing Lu Chen's worried look, Tian Xin felt sad. Lu Chen, if Jiao is in the fifth heavens, let's go back to the sixth heavens first. Then, we'll wait for the lower realm teleportation gate to recover. I'll ask my father to open the lower realm teleportation gate and let us go to the fifth heavens. Lu Chen sighed. Even if she's in the fifth heavens is already very big. It's easier said than done to find someone. Moreover, if Jiao is really in the fifth heavens, it only means that the dark erosion's growth is faster than I thought. Then, when we go to the fifth heavens, she might not be there anymore. Mengpa said that if Jiao reached the sixth heavens, she would definitely find him. Perhaps, instead of continuing to search without any clues, it would be better to wait for Jiao to find him. Oh, right? Didn't you say that you had something to do? Lu Chen suddenly thought of this girl. She had been following him around and didn't seem to have dealt with his matters. I also want to go to the fifth heavens. Looks like I can only go next time. Tian Xin stammered. Lu Chen didn't think too much about it. Since the two of them didn't need to stay in the fourth heavens, they both returned to the sixth heavens. Tian Xin returned to the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. She didn't know where her father had gone. Tian Xin returned to her room and summoned her master. Girl, you've been alone with that silly boy for so long, and nothing happened? What happened to the honey trap? Tian Xin rested her cheeks on her hands and looked out the window for a long time. He has something on his mind, so he shouldn't be thinking about other things. Something's bothering him? I think you have something on your mind. Master, do you know what dark erosion is? I know. Why? Don't tell me you want to help that girl. She's your rival in love. Look at how much Lu Chen cares about that girl. If you really want to compete, you might not necessarily win. The little man jumped onto the table and ate the fruits on the fruit plate without restraint. I know, but that girl is so pitiful. Aya, hurry up and tell me what dark erosion is. Seeing that his disciple was so anxious, the little man smiled and said, all right, all right. This is indeed not a small matter. When your father comes back, you have to tell him too. Lu Chun has the life-defying divine demon set. But do you know that the life-defying divine demon set is not a complete set? I've seen it in the Immortal Palace's equipment guide. Tion Exina recalled and said, the life-defying divine demon set is strong and can be said to be able to defy the heavens and change one's fate. However, no one has ever collected this set of equipment because the strongest piece of equipment, the heaven-defying divine demon, doesn't even exist in Jiutian. The little man nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that his disciple had memorized the guide well. That's right. The heaven-defying divine demon set is very strange. It clearly doesn't exist, but it has its own name. In short, no one has ever obtained this set of equipment since ancient times. If you have the heaven-defying divine demon set, then the life-defying divine demon set would definitely be the strongest set. However, because it lacks the heaven-defying divine demon set, the life-defying divine demon set can only be considered top-tier set. In Jiutian, there are other sets that can be compared to the life-defying divine demon set, the little man said as he ate some fruit. Master, why are you telling me so much about the life-defying divine demon set? I'm asking about the dark erosion. Tion Xin said impatiently. The dark erosion is the core equipment of the dark erosion chaotic set. This dark erosion chaotic set is a set that can be compared to the incomplete life-defying divine demon set. Tion Xin's eyes widened. If it could be compared to the life-defying divine demon set, then the dark erosion chaotic set was very terrifying. The dark erosion chaotic set also doesn't belong to Jiutian. It's extremely powerful, but at the same time, it also has a fatal flaw. The dark erosion is a kind of cultivation technique. You can probably think of it as Lu Chen's 9 transformations of the celestial demon. The dark erosion is also known as the dark erosion mysterious skill. The little man finally returned to the main topic. This cultivation technique is very strange. To cultivate the dark erosion mysterious skill, one has to meet very strict physical conditions. One has to have a body of extreme darkness. You have to know that there aren't many people in Jiutian who have this body type. Tion Xin frowned. No wonder the Mu clan had passed down for so long that only Jiu could carry the dark erosion. But master, what's with the dark erosion? Tion Xin asked. The dark erosion is damaged, decayed, and exhausted. After cultivating the dark erosion, one's soul will be damaged. The dark erosion cultivation technique is very strange. Not only can it breed inner demons, but it also seems to have a life of its own. When cultivated to a certain level, it will join forces with the inner demons to seize the body's consciousness. After that, even the inner demons of the body will be replaced. Finally, the person who cultivates the dark erosion will be able to control their own body of darkness and become a true life form. Tion Xin was dumbfounded. The dark erosion was too horrifying. She didn't expect that someone would cultivate such a strange cultivation technique. Of course, the girl's family must have known the result. They must have used a special method to protect their world of origin with the dark erosion. The dwarf heaved a sigh. It's a pity that the dark erosion will keep looking for other components of the suit after gaining control of the body. At the same time, they'll be interested in other powerful equipment, pets, and holy spirits. I'm afraid that they won't be able to control the monster that they cultivate in the end. Tion Xin finally understood why even her master attached great importance to this matter. It was easy to deal with the awakened dark erosion, but the dark erosion had become a horrifying monster after collecting the dark erosion chaos suit. Jiu must care a lot about Lu Chun, so leaving the most important memories in the river of forgetfulness is the wisest choice. Tion Xin mumbled. One day, I will die, and the memories of you will be sealed in the river of forgetfulness. Girl, I don't think you should think about that boy. He's a jinx. If I'm not mistaken, Gio will definitely come to him, the little man said, and he will either kill the girl or be killed by the dark erosion. Regardless of which choice he makes, it will be extremely cruel to him. But he has no other choice. This is his fate. Chapter 11:14. Little Green helped Lu Chun brew a cup of tea. Looking at the two crystal teardrops in his hand, Lu Chun, who was deep in thought, couldn't help but ask, "Boss, Zhongxingu said that we can only use the teleportation array after a month. What should we do next?" Lu Chun shook his head. "I think Lu, Yi, and the others have already reached the fifth heaven. Instead of going to the fifth heaven alone, I might as well return to the real world and ask the people of the Earth Union to help me find her." However, from the third and fourth heaven regions, Jior doesn't seem to have caused any commotion. If she really keeps a low profile, I'm afraid that the Earth Union won't be able to find her. If that's the case, I can only wait for her to find me. Little Green looked at Lu Chun worriedly. "If Miss Jior finds you, how are you going to face her?" Lu Chun didn't answer immediately. He looked at the teardrop in his hand in a daze. After a long time, he said, "I don't know either. Although the Demonic Academy was still a lower academy, its reputation in prosperous Origin Continent was unparalleled. Although the Demonic Academy didn't have priority in recruiting, there was an endless stream of talented disciples who came because of its reputation. They could recruit a few people every day. The business district at the foot of Intentionless Mountain became lively because of the large number of newcomers. The Black Armor King began to develop the local economy and open up more businesses. In addition, Zhongxingu made an exception and allowed the people of the Demonic Academy to use their teleportation array after paying a certain amount of spirit stones. They could send people to other continents to recruit new people after that. Only the Immortal Academy had the right to do this. Lu Chun handed this matter to Grey Crow and Bai. The two of them brought about 8 disciples and formed a recruitment team from other continents. They began to travel to other continents. At the headquarters, many academies sent representatives to discuss matters, hoping to establish a relationship with the Demonic Academy. The Demonic Academy temporarily regained its peace. It quickly recovered its vitality and developed rapidly. 1.5 months later, Grey Crow and Bai brought 3 newcomers back to the Demonic Academy to participate in the test spaces test. Lu Chun watched it personally. It wasn't that the 3 newcomers were famous. The main reason was that the Demonic Academy already had a population of 1798. If 2 of the 3 successfully entered the Demonic Academy, then the Demonic Academy would be able to unseal the teleportation portal. Including Lu Chun, the disciples of the Demonic Academy had not returned to their original world for a long time. Grey Crow's eyes were quite sharp. The 3 people he brought back had all been in the testing space for more than 8 minutes. Lu Chun let out a long sigh of relief and whispered to Grey Crow, "Remove the sign that says 10 million spirit stones for exceeding 10 minutes. Grey Crow understood what he meant. Now that the scope of their enrollment had expanded, it was inevitable that a few super geniuses would appear. In any case, their academy already had decent strength, so there was no need for them to use this method to attract others to test themselves. Now that the number of people in the academy had reached the requirement, Lu Chun immediately went to the teleportation array of the original Wunyan Academy and unsealed the teleportation array. Opening the academy's information template, there was a description of the teleportation array. Teleportation array, original world teleportation. It can be used 100 times per month. Must return to the 6th heaven within 3 days after using it. Otherwise, must wait for 30 days to recharge and reconnect the teleportation array with the original world's login device. A sea of clouds said, "Nameless, students need to spend academy contribution points to use the teleportation array. I suggest that it be set at 2,000 academy contribution points per use. It's best to reserve 30 uses as a backup in case someone needs to use it urgently and has no more uses. It's not difficult to earn 2,000 Academy contribution points. The Academy usually won't make things difficult for students when it comes to returning to their original world. The main reason is to prevent students from using it repeatedly. After all, the number of times the teleportation array can be used each month is limited. Lu Chen nodded. Old C, you're more considerate. No problem, it's settled then. Nameless, you're in such a hurry to set up the teleportation array. Do you have something urgent to go back to? A sea of clouds suddenly asked. Even when the Academy opened the 10 halls, the dean was not in such a hurry. This time, the dean was obviously in a hurry. Yes, I have to go back to take care of some things. Lu Chen did not say it out loud. A sea of clouds nodded. Go then. The Academy is now on the right track. We'll be watching over it. A familiar dizziness came over him. When Lu Chen opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the gaming cabin. Ever since the fifth heaven changed to a physical teleportation array, the gaming cabin had become a vertical gaming cabin. Lu Chen gently touched the familiar cabin door. He was finally home. Pushing open the cabin door, his room was still spotless. It seemed that Lu Yi had just helped him clean his room. Noisy chatter came from downstairs. Lu Chen pushed open the door and walked out. Lu Yi, Li Muhua, Lung Nuo, Ning Shuang, Feng Lingzi, Luo Xiaohe, Floral, 10 Steps, and many of the core members of the Madways Guild were downstairs. Lu Chen's eyes were filled with suspicion. What was going on? Was he dreaming? Lu Yi was chatting with the others when she suddenly noticed a figure upstairs. She looked up. Brother. The room suddenly quieted down. Everyone looked up to the second floor. There was a tall man standing on the railing. Leader, Master, my Chun, Brother Chun. Immediately after, a group of people jumped from the first floor to the second floor, which was 3 to 4 meters high, and pounced on Lu Chun. Damn, you guys. Hey, don't push, I'm gonna fall. Before Lu Chun could say anything, he was tightly surrounded by a group of people. They broke through the railing on the second floor, and a large group of people fell from the second floor. Fortunately, this group of people were the elites of the Mad Waves Guild. Their attributes were already incomparable to normal people, so no one was injured. Lu Chen looked at his own railing with heartache. With such luxurious decorations, it would cost at least 1,000 yuan to fix it. Speaking of which, Lu Chen had lost the concept of money for a long time. From the gold coins in the second heaven to the spirit stones he used now, which one of them wasn't priceless. Money had become the lowest form of currency. Brother, you're finally willing to come back. Lu Yi's eyes were red. She stared at Lu Chen happily and angrily. How come you're more than one? 8 meters now? Did you have a second puberty? Hey, it's not that I didn't want to come back. Anyway, it's a long story, but why are you all here? Li Muhua rushed to explain. Chen, you don't know, right? That kid Beishue Gufei proposed to Lu Yi. Lu Chen was shocked. He stared at Lu Yi with his eyes wide open. Lu Yi was embarrassed by her brother's stare. She said softly, Brother, I'm already in my 20s. Although cultivation can extend one's life, medical experts still recommend people to get married and have children according to their previous age. Medical experts? What do they know? She's a few hundred years old and still looks like a little girl. Lu Chen said disdainfully. Lung Wan smiled and said, Nameless, Gufei is really good to Lu Yi. He also often helps Earth's players, especially our Mad Waves. He even protected us a few times. Indeed, that kid Gufei's character is unquestionable. Even Li Muhua agreed. Lu Chen frowned. Gufei was a good person, but he still couldn't accept marrying his sister off so suddenly. This was his sister whom he depended on for survival. Chapter 11:15. Lu Yi, Lung Nuo, and the others had been together in violent waves for almost 10 years. After entering level 4, they had been like this many times. Lu Yi had encountered such a big matter, and Lu Chen was not around, so she wanted to discuss it with them. Her brother was like a father. Now that Lu Chen had returned, he would naturally be Lu Yi's guardian. Brother, do you think it's okay? Lu Yi stared at Lu Chen nervously. Although Lu Chen could not bear to part with his sister, he knew that his sister would eventually get married. If she wanted to get married, then Gu Fei was indeed a good choice. Lu Chan sighed. Gu Fei is a good guy, but you two are in two different worlds. You can't possibly marry him in the future, right? Brother, we will spend most of our time in Jiutian. Unless necessary, we don't need to go to each other's world. Lu Yi said, it's just that we have to apply for each other to come to our world. After all, if we want to get married, we need to understand each other's situation in the real world. Lu Chen nodded. If it was in Jiutian, then it was still acceptable. How about this? Don't be in a hurry to agree to Gu Fei's proposal. I'll settle the matters at hand and go to their world with you to take a look. Brother, you agree? Lu Yi looked at Lu Chen excitedly. Lu Chen snorted. I didn't say that I agree. I have to investigate before giving them an answer. Then Lu Chen patted Lu Yi's head lovingly. Fatty, you've grown up. Brother can't stop you from finding your own happiness. Brother. Lu Yi's eyes were filled with tears. No matter what happens in the future, I won't leave you. You're my brother, the person closest to me. With Lu Chen's reply, Lu Yi's matter was officially put on the agenda. They only needed to wait for the Beishua family's reply. After Lu Yi's matter was temporarily settled, Lu Chen looked at his friends and had a good chat with them. Violent Wave's development was very fast. The Guide project was also becoming more and more powerful. The strength of the Earth's players was rising rapidly. More and more Earth players entered the Fifth Heaven. In the Fifth Heaven, they formed a new country with the natives, which was developing rapidly. They chatted until it was almost noon, and 10 Steps began to prepare the food. 10 Steps was not good at cultivation, but his cooking skills were not low. He was already a 7-star cooking master. The others were also helping him prepare the ingredients. The kitchen and living room were bustling with activity. In fact, ever since Lu Chan bought the villa, his house had never been so lively. Looking at everyone's busy figures, Lu Chan couldn't help but sigh. In these 10 years in Jiutian, he had already made so many friends in the crowd. Lu Chan saw Li Muhua and pulled him over. Muhua, how is the Fifth Heaven, Dongyu country? Are you asking the East Peak Nation or the East Peak Nation's ruler? Li Muhua looked at Lu Chan with a gaze that seemed to see through everything. Seeing that Lu Chan was a little embarrassed, Li Muhua caught the reaction he wanted. He grinned. I knew it. After all, Kong Luoyao is so beautiful, and she still can't forget you. She would ask about your situation when she has nothing to do. There must be something between the two of you. Sigh, it's a pity. You know, many girls who like you have to accept the cruel reality. Lu Chen rolled his eyes at Li Muhua. Since when did you speak so inexplicably? Which girl likes me? No one likes you. Li Muhua's eyes widened. Are you a straight man, made of titanium? Damn, I'm going to die from anger. I thought you didn't find a girlfriend because your standards were too high. So it's because you're stupid. Lu Chen frowned. I'm stupid? Let me tell you, when it comes to relationships, I'm an expert. Many people have consulted me about relationships. Li Muhua sucked in a breath of cold air. Expert? You really think so? Not only are you a straight man, but the people around you are also straight men. Forget it. I'm not going to talk about this with you. I'm a single person, and I'm actually worried about a man who lives in a field of flowers. I'm afraid that if I help you analyze, I'll have a heart attack. In short, cherish the people around you. Luoyao has lost a lot of weight. She really wants to look for you, but Dongyu country can't be without a ruler. So, sigh. Once she likes you, it's really hopeless. Lu Chen frowned. Why is it hopeless? Your growth is too fast, so fast that no one can keep up with you. Li Muhua said bitterly. To be honest, I'm also worried about your marriage. You tell me, who can accompany you forever like this? I really don't know which woman can make you stop. Lu Chen was slightly lost in thought. Luoyao lost weight. His heart was somewhat distressed. I can't stop, Lu Chen suddenly said blankly. Forget it. Let's not talk about Luoyao. Take me to the Earth Alliance tomorrow. I want you to help me find someone in the Fifth Heaven. Find someone? Who? A very dangerous woman. Li Muhua suddenly became serious. If even Lu Chen said that she was a dangerous woman, then this matter must be taken seriously. Okay, the headquarters have been moved to the Pacific Islands. I'll transfer a fighter jet over. The road in front of the community has been requisitioned and has been converted into a runway. It's very convenient. Lu Chun shook his head. No need to go through so much trouble. I'll take you with my mount tomorrow. You can inform the Earth Alliance today. Lu Chun had a Tai show, and its speed was very fast. Li Muhua knew this. Okay, I'll inform the higher-ups now. The next morning, Li Muhua came to call Lu Chun. Chun, let's go. Lu Chun walked out of the villa and realized that there was not enough space around. He thought for a while and said to Li Muhua, let's go to the Royal Hotel. Aren't we going to the headquarters? Li Muhua asked, puzzled. Just follow me. Lu Chun did not care and grabbed Li Muhua. 7 stars, chasing the moon. This. Li Muhua did not understand what was going on and was already dragged out by Lu Chun. A few minutes later, the two of them had reached the 28th floor of the Royal Hotel. Li Muhua could not take this speed and was still in shock. Chun, are you trying to take revenge on me because I called you stupid yesterday? How can you keep using this displacement technique? I'm about to throw up. Lu Chun turned his head and looked at the pale Li Muhua. He smiled eerily. You can't take it anymore? It'll be more exciting later. Come, jump off the building with me. What? Before Li Muhua could react, he was already pulled by Lu Chun and jumped down from the Royal Hotel. Chun, stop fooling around. I was wrong. Don't kill me. Li Muhua screamed. Lu Chun laughed. Look at how scared you are. Why would I kill you? 10 wings. Suddenly, a huge dragon appeared outside the Royal Hotel. The huge body circled in the air and was at least a few hundred meters long. Roar! The dragon's roar shattered all the glass on the 20th floor of the Royal Hotel. Everyone looked at the huge dragon in horror, their faces drained of all color. Dragon. It's a dragon. Could it be a mount from Jiutian? Nonsense. There's no such terrifying mount in Jiutian. 10 wings? Stronger than Mad God's 9 wings? What's going on? 10 wings caught Lu Chun and Li Muhua accurately and disappeared in the air in the blink of an eye. Chapter 11:16. At the Earth Alliance's Pacific headquarters, a giant dragon appeared from the clouds. The ground troops looked at the giant dragon nervously. Oh my God, do you see those ground cannons? If I hadn't told them in advance, they would have opened fire. Li Muhua was scared. Those cannons! Lu Chun smiled. Fortunately, they didn't attack. Otherwise, if they angered the 10-winged, it would probably be a sea of fire below. In order to arrange the landing of the 10-winged, the ground cleared out a large landing pad. After the 10-winged came down, Lu Chun saw the surrounding soldiers looking at the 10-winged with fear and envy. This is too domineering. I feel that the 9-winged is much more powerful than when I saw it in the Jiutian. It doesn't look like a 9-winged. It has 10 pairs of wings. A 10-winged celestial dragon? Is this Mad God's new mount? It's already manifested. How much money is that? Money? Money can't buy that. Lu Chun didn't have time to pay attention to these people. Under Li Muhua's lead, he walked quickly to the Alliance's headquarters. At this time, the highest leaders of the Alliance and the various countries' military were already waiting for Lu Chun at the door. Li Muhua had never seen such an exaggerated scene. The military representatives of various countries had to personally welcome him. Only the solipsistic could enjoy such treatment. Lu Chun entered the meeting room, surrounded by the crowd. In the meeting room, Lu Chun made a request, hoping that the level 5 players could help him find Jiu of the Wood Mansion. Of course, Lu Chun also briefly explained the situation of the Dark Erosion. In short, the sooner we find Jiu of the Wood Mansion, the more likely it is to save her. Not to mention the relationship between Lu Chun and the Wood Mansion. If Jiu of the Wood Mansion was really possessed by the Dark Erosion, then she would become a threat to Lu Chun. Lu Chun's safety was related to the safety of all the players on Earth. There was no doubt about this. Hua Xia, representing the Great Wall of Iron and Blood, said, "Mad God, we will arrange this matter immediately. Although we don't have many people in the 5th layer of heaven, only around 400, the natives, the East Mountain Nation, and even the other nations will support us." Oh, Lu Chun felt a little strange. It was understandable that the Aborigines and the Eastern Peak Nation helped him, but other countries also helped him. When did they become so enthusiastic? The Great Wall of Iron and Blood laughed. I can't say that I'm enthusiastic. Mad God, the spirit stone mine you left behind is now the largest spirit stone mine in the fifth heaven. We have maintained very close spirit stone exchanges with other countries. Plus, they know that Mad God is an earthling and are very polite to us. They will definitely help us with this small matter. Lu Chen nodded. So it turned out that they were related by interest. All right, let me thank them first. After that, Lu Chen learned about the current development of Earth. Because of Lu Chen, the players on Earth were developing very well in the low-level heavens, and the Guide project had been operating very efficiently. At present, the phenomenon of attribute extraction was becoming more and more common. After research, if both parents had extraordinary attributes, the newborn would be stronger than their peers. In other words, the strengthening of the parents' bodies could be inherited. Hearing the results of this research, Lu Chen was also in disbelief. Although the enhancement of a newborn's physique is not too exaggerated, it at least proves that humans have embarked on a new path of evolution. The Great Wall of Iron and Blood said, "What we have been looking forward to has finally become a reality." Lu Chen looked at the excited expressions on the faces of the representatives of various countries. In fact, there was one thing he had not told them. That was the final battle 7 years later. In the Whirlpool world, Lu Chen saw with his own eyes the scene of the people on Earth being massacred. A planet that had just embarked on the path of cultivation was almost wiped out. Now, the only hope was perhaps himself. The person who should have died had changed his fate, but could he change the fate of the entire Earth? Time always passed very quickly when one returned home. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had already returned to Earth for 2 days. On the last day of his stay on Earth, Lu Chen chose to take Lu Yi shopping and eat delicious food. In the blink of an eye, I'm already 34. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. Who would have thought that he had spent more than 10 years in the Jiutian? Brother, you're not old at all. Look at me. I don't look like I'm 30. Lu Yi happily ate ice cream. Lu Chen smiled. Yes, in the future, everyone's lifespan will increase greatly. If we can become a true immortal, we can jump out of the cycle of reincarnation. Brother, I don't dare to think about things that are so far away. But you've grown so much all of a sudden, I'm not used to standing beside you now. Lu Chen smiled and stroked Lu Yi's hair. No matter what your brother has become, I'll always be your brother. What's there to not get used to? Lu Yi held Lu Chen tightly with one hand and looked at Lu Chen's shoulder. I know, brother. I like domineering brothers like you the most. Lu Chen smiled and shook his head. This sister of his would always be the woman he loved the most. Heavenly King Hall of the Purple Heavenly Palace. A man in purple walked into the hall with a woman. In the high hall, the sound of their footsteps echoed in the hall. On the golden throne in the hall sat a burly man. He had a huge body and was more than 3 meters tall. He sat comfortably on the throne, wearing a beast skin, revealing his thick arms. This person looked like a half-beast, but he had some characteristics of the demon race. He had a pair of thick, curved purple demon horns on his head. When the two came to the front of the throne, the man in purple cupped his fists and said, "Reporting to Purple Knight Emperor, this is the new person we found. Her strength is very terrifying." Purple Knight, son of heaven, frowned slightly. This was the first time he had heard the word terrifying from one of his subordinates. His gaze involuntarily fell on the woman. Human. Purple Knight Emperor's expression changed slightly. This woman was from the human race that was known as the trash race. The woman raised her head, revealing her beautiful face. But her beauty didn't match the sinister smile on her lips and her dark purple eyes. I'm not from the human race. I only borrowed this body. Purple Knight Emperor frowned and sat up straight. You're from the ghost race? The ghost race wasn't from the underworld, but they had the ability to take over other people's bodies. The woman smiled, but didn't say anything. Others would think that she admitted it. However, Purple Knight Emperor wasn't anyone else. He narrowed his eyes and shouted, "Heavenly Eye!" Just as he activated his heavenly eye, He was shocked by the scene he saw. You aren't human." Purple Knight Emperor stared at the woman with wide eyes. "Wait, could you be?" "Dark erosion. Purple Knight Emperor has good taste." The woman had a calm smile on her face. She didn't change her expression because her identity was exposed. Dark erosion. It can be compared to the demon god defying fate. "I finally found someone who can deal with the solipsistic." "Hey woman, what's your name?" The woman replied, "Would Manor Geo Chapter 11:17. Geo of the Wood Mansion. Purple Knight Emperor walked up to Geo, his eyes full of admiration. "It's actually dark corrosion. How many pieces of the dark corrosion chaotic suit have you fused with?" "6. 6. Good, that's great. Listen, I don't care what you are. I only want Yi Fan to die." Geo sneered. "Yi Fan? Is that the guy who ruined your plans? I'm not interested in such a small character. I'm only interested in solipsistic. You want his life reversing set." Purple Knight Emperor frowned. "Don't worry about that. As long as you agree to create conditions for me, I'll agree to join your Purple Sky Palace." Geo said indifferently. Facing Purple Knight Emperor, she was still arrogant. Purple Knight Emperor didn't care. After all, she wasn't the woman she looked like now. She was dark corrosion. Purple Knight Emperor thought about this deal. The Demonic Academy is in the limelight now. With Zhongxi and Ji's protection, I can't find a chance to make a move. But if solipsistic dies, no one will stop me from killing Yi Fan. Yes, I agree with your proposal. Geo, if you need any resources during this time, just tell me. Geo smiled. Then I won't be polite. Call me when you need to make a move. I'm going to cultivate now. Don't disturb me. With that, Geo left the hall without looking back. Emperor, is she really dark corrosion? The man in purple asked. Purple Knight Emperor glanced at his subordinate. Yes, she's dark corrosion. I didn't expect dark corrosion to join my Purple Sky Palace. This is all thanks to solipsistic. Ha ha. Congratulations, Emperor. All of a sudden, Purple Knight Emperor stopped laughing and slapped the top of that person's head. With a muffled sound, the man fell in front of Purple Knight Emperor with eyes full of shock. He didn't even know why he died. Purple Knight Son of Heaven expressionlessly looked at that person's corpse and coldly harumphed. No one can know about this, so I can only kill you. After speaking, he took out a medicinal bottle and spread out corpse powder, disposing of that person's corpse. Men, Purple Knight Emperor shouted. Prepare the teleportation array. I'm going to the Heavenly Music Parlor. During the Prodigy competition, Lu Chun had severed the arm of the Heavenly Music Pavilion's disciple, Song Yun, causing him to miss out on the top 50. He did not believe that the Heavenly Music Pavilion did not hold any grudges against Lu Chun. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. He didn't believe that he couldn't defeat the Demonic Academy if the two forces joined hands. Yi Fan, as long as you kill Solipsistic, let's see who else will protect you. No one from the Violet Sky Palace has been able to escape. Lu Chun returned to the sixth heaven from Earth. His mood was also much better than before. Leaving Zhou Er's matter to the Earth Alliance was definitely more efficient than searching for her like a headless fly. Once he found Zhou Er and settled this matter, he would go to the North Shui family to check on his future brother-in-law. That girl Lu is actually getting married. When Lu Chun came back from the teleportation array, he couldn't help but want to laugh when he thought of this. That girl actually had someone proposing marriage to her. Just as Lu Chun was walking, he suddenly saw a young man walking in the distance while looking at an account book. Yi Fan? Lu Chun finally saw this guy and called him over. Yi Fan, don't you look where you're going? Dean? When did you come back? Lu Chun's face darkened. I came back a few days ago. I've been in a daze all day. What are you doing? Aren't I doing some accounting? Yi Fan was famous for being diligent in earning money. Lu Chun had heard of him. He asked, I remember that when you first came to Godfiend, you owed your senior brother Black Armor, Wong, 300,000 spirit stones. You've been frugal for more than a year and worked hard to earn money. You should have quite a bit of savings, right? Savings? Dean, I don't have any savings. I just calculated, and now I owe senior brother Black Armor, Wong, 500,000 spirit stones. Lu Chun almost vomited blood. After working for a year, he owed an additional 200,000 spirit stones? No way. Were you tricked by the Black Armor King? Senior brother shouldn't be scheming against me. At that time, I was about to pay it all back. I lost almost 80,000 spirit stones in the bet. Then I saw that senior brother Black Armor Wong had made a lot of money, so I borrowed some money from him and bought some materials for refining weapons. Now I owe him a total of 500,000 spirit stones. Lu Chen gasped. This silly kid probably wouldn't be able to pay off his debt in this lifetime. Dean, Rong, said she's willing to lend me money without charging me interest. I think this is a good deal. What do you think? Yifan asked very seriously. Lu Chen widened his eyes. Don't borrow from Rong. There's still hope of paying off the spirit stones you owe Black Armor Wong. Don't lose yourself for 500,000 spirit stones. That's not necessary. Lu Chen finally felt compassion for Yifan when he saw how poor he was. The Academy will soon unseal the mission system. When the time comes, you can go to the 3 hunting zones and sell the items on the monsters. Dean, I don't dare to go too far from the Academy. I'm afraid that the people from the Purple Sky Palace will cause trouble and implicate my fellow disciples. Yifan finally voiced his concerns. There doesn't seem to be any movement from the Purple Sky Palace now. They are now hindered by the Dean's strength and the development of the divine demons. If I go too far away from the Academy, they won't let me go because of their hatred for me. After Yifan finished speaking, he raised his head and narrowed his eyes slightly. He said fiercely, "They won't let me go, but I won't let them go either. When I have enough strength, I will definitely flatten the Purple Sky Palace." To be honest, when Yifan said this, he was completely different from the financial idiot he was. What kind of grudge do you have with the Purple Sky Palace to the extent that you won't rest until you die? Yifan looked at Lu Chen. The Dean didn't ask anything at first and forcibly saved him from the Purple Sky Palace. After that, he never asked anything. After such a long time, he had already regarded Lu Chen as his master and friend. At this point, he didn't want to hide it anymore. My Yi family has a mental cultivation method called the Sacred Heart Mantra of Emperor Yi Tian. The palace master of the Purple Sky Palace, Purple Knight Emperor, was injured and was saved by my Yi family. However, he also knew about this mental cultivation method in my family and coveted it for a long time. When he recovered, he didn't hesitate to slaughter hundreds of people from my Yi family. Fortunately, I mastered the mental cultivation method and escaped from their evil clutches. Lu Chen clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes were full of hatred. Lu Chen's eyes widened. Yifan said it simply, but the experience was too cruel for Yifan. His whole family was slaughtered by the person he saved. With such a deep blood feud, it was natural that they wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. On the one hand, the Purple Sky Palace wanted to seize the mental cultivation method. On the other hand, they were also afraid that Yifan would grow up and seek revenge on them. This was why they repeatedly hunted down Yifan. Yifan, if you need my help. Yifan suddenly raised his hand. Dean, Yifan will always remember your kindness to Yifan. However, I won't allow anyone else to interfere in the revenge of the annihilation of my family. Lu Chen nodded in understanding. Okay, I won't interfere. I also believe that you will avenge your family one day. Thank you very much, Dean. Chapter 1118. Recently, the instructors of the Demonic Academy were all busy. The number of people in the Demonic Academy was about to break through 2,000, and they would officially enter the Xingyuan Continent's Academy ranking. Even Lu Chen was asked by Sea of Clouds and Yi Tian to understand the ranking. Nameless, the Academy ranking is composed of 4 elements. You have to listen carefully. A Sea of Clouds said, "Oh." Lu Chen sat there obediently and listened. The first part, the student's cultivation level. There's no way around it. The Zhongxian Gu will calculate how much it should be. This part accounts for 300 points. The second part, the instructor's theoretical knowledge assessment. This has nothing to do with you. This part accounts for 100 points. The third part, the scale of the academy, accounts for 100 points. Our academy's venue used to be Thoughtless Academy's venue, so it should be the same as Thoughtless Academies. We should be able to get 60 points. The fourth part, the Academy's assets. We have just started in this area, so it should be around 30 points. Lu Chun was finally relieved. That doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. When the time comes, I'll just get as much as I want. A sea of clouds shook his head. No, there are two more parts. These are related to you. The fifth part, the Dean's theoretical assessment and reputation level. A total of 100 points. Your reputation is now famous, so it should be 30 points. The theoretical assessment requires you to participate in the 9 professions basic theories and the 6 heavens basic general knowledge assessment. The points will be calculated according to the results. Ah, there's still an assessment? Lu Chen was shocked. Although he wasn't a bad student, the 9 professions basic knowledge and the 6 heavens basic general knowledge was something a savage like him wouldn't know. If he participated in the assessment, he would definitely die. The last part, the student competition. When the time comes, we will send out a team of students to accept challenges from others. The challengers must be from a mortal academy. The main thing is to see the academy's top fighting strength. Because there will be an instructor to lead the team, it will definitely be you. The score for this part is also very high, also 300 points. That's not bad. Fighting is much more humane than taking an exam, Lu Chun said. A sea of clouds continued. In addition, there are also some bonus points, mainly the hunting competition we participated in before, or other branches and so on. Lu Chen nodded. Whether or not he would be given extra points had already been decided. Now, the only thing that concerned him was a dean's test and a student's competition. A sea of clouds also knew that Lu Chen's weakness was the assessment. After explaining, he took out a large stack of books and placed them on Lu Chen's desk. These are the basic knowledge of the 9 major professions, the general knowledge of the 6th heaven, the management of the academy, etc. Take a good look at them during this period of time. Lu Chen saw dozens of thick books stacked there and suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. There's still about a month left. You have to take a good look. Etienne exhorted. The other items are either things that can't be changed in a short period of time or things that we have confidence in. Only your assessment has more room for improvement. The competition between the major academies is very fierce now. A single point difference could mean dozens of places. Seeing that these two people were so nervous, Lu Chen had no choice but to agree. After a sea of clouds and Etienne left, Lu Chen hurriedly flipped through the books. Sword Spirit's profession branches, characteristics of spiritual power usage, characteristics of skills, and analysis of combat techniques. Damn, is this a F** King Xinhua dictionary? Why is it so thick? Lu Chen held the book with both hands and suddenly felt fear. This was only the Sword Spirit. There were a total of 9 professions here. Other people started to learn professions from level 10 main cities, and only then did they learn so much. I didn't have a profession from level 1. What the F*** do I know? Forget it. I'm not going to look at it anymore. No matter what my ranking is, I'll just add more points in the future, and my ranking will naturally go up. Lu Chen directly put away the books. He had no intention of continuing to read. However, he didn't dare to tell a sea of clouds and Etienne about this. Otherwise, they would definitely lecture him. A month later, the number of people in the Demonic Academy had reached 2,000. The main spirit vein had opened. This was what Lu Chen was most concerned about. What exactly was the thing that had been hibernating near the main spirit vein? It seemed that it would be revealed soon. However, before that, the first thing that the Demonic Academy welcomed was the official entry into the Xingyuan Continent Academy rankings. For any academy, this was a matter of utmost importance. The Demonic Academy was responsible for welcoming the representatives from major academies of Xingyuan Continent, as well as the representatives from Zhongxingguo. However, unlike the other academies, the news of the Demonic Academy entering the rankings had actually spread to other continents. Perhaps it was because the Demonic Academy was too famous, but even the main academies and immortal academies from other continents sent representatives to observe the process of the Demonic Academy entering the rankings. There are so many people from other continents. Some local academies seemed a little nervous. Maybe the Divine Demon Academy is too famous. After all, they took first place in the Prodigy tournament. Many people might not be convinced. The Demonic Academy is so ostentatious. It feels like our Saint Academy is just a small fry. It can't be. The people from the Purple Sky Palace and the Heavenly Music Pavilion are also here. Doesn't the Purple Sky Palace have a grudge with the Demonic Academy? Lu Chen made a few notes and carried them with him. Although he didn't know how many points he would get, the words of a sea of clouds had left a deep impression on him. Every point he could get was a point. After carefully pasting the notes on his sleeve, Lu Chen walked out of the room as if there was no one around. At a glance, he saw that the intentionless mountain was packed with people. Such a big place, but it still seemed crowded. How many people had come this time? At this moment, Xiao Zhan suddenly ran over in a hurry. Dean, do you know who's here? Oh, Lu Chen looked confused. The Purple Sky Palace. Xiao Zhan lowered his voice. They're here too. The Purple Sky Palace? Yes, I think they might be here for the last round of the competition. Lu Chen snorted coldly. I'd like to see if they dare to cause trouble in the Demonic Academy's territory. Although the Demonic Academy was responsible for hosting, they didn't have the right to stop others from coming to observe. Moreover, Lu Chen wasn't afraid of the Purple Sky Palace. Under the arrangement of a sea of clouds and the others, the martial arts practice field had been temporarily set up for the audience. Now, the martial arts practice field was both an open-air venue and an arena. Soon, the Demonic Academy's ranking process began. As the representative of Zhongxiangu, Ma Bei was announcing the results of the Demonic Academy. The first round, the level of the students. We have verified the level of the 2020 students reported by the Demonic Academy. After conversion, the final score is 107 points. This round wasn't surprising. The students of the Demonic Academy, as newcomers, weren't of low levels. However, there were too few of them after all. There were just 2,000 of them, so the total score wouldn't be too high. They only got 107 points out of 300 points. The second round, the scale of the Academy, 64 points. The third round, the assets of the Academy, 41 points. A Sea of Clouds was quite surprised. A month ago, he estimated that the score would be 30 points, but now it was 41 points? Uncle, I made 1 billion in a month. In addition, I temporarily put my personal assets under the name of the Academy. It didn't find out. Black Armor King whispered in a Sea of Clouds' ear. A Sea of Clouds looked at Black Armor King in surprise. This guy was indeed a business genius. Chapter 11:19. The next test is the instructor's assessment. All instructors below the director of the Demonic Academy, please come up to the stage to take the test. More than 40 sets of tables and chairs were brought up to the stage, and everyone's name tag was placed on the table. A Sea of Clouds and the others calmly went up to the stage and started writing. Lu Chen's eyes widened when he saw this scene. Was this how the test should be? Taking the test in front of so many people? There were tens of thousands of invigilators. The team of instructors at the Demonic Academy was much larger than before. There were a total of 42 instructors, all of whom were carefully selected by Sea of Clouds and Etion. They were all very experienced, and this kind of test was not a problem for them at all. After all, when selecting instructors for a Sea of Clouds, Etion had to consider that the instructors who could teach these monstrous students could not be too bad. Half an hour later, someone had already finished answering. 40 minutes later, everyone had finished the test. The people from Zhongxiangu went up to the stage to mark the papers, and the results were out in 10 minutes. After Ma Bei and the immortal teachers from Zhongxiangu finished tallying the final scores, they announced, "The instructors of the Demonic Academy are indeed amazing." The final score is 97 points. 97 points? That's close to full marks. There was a sudden commotion below the stage. This was not a single person's test, but more than 40 people's scores were calculated together. In the end, they were 3 points away from full marks. There were many very flexible questions here, and they required a very deep understanding of a certain profession to get a high score. No wonder Ma Bei praised the instructors of the demonic academy. After a sea of clouds stepped down from the stage and sat beside Lu Chun, he was very satisfied with the results. At this moment, he glanced sideways at the director and saw that the director looked distracted. Nameless, don't be nervous. The content of this test is very simple. Lu Chun looked at a sea of clouds and nodded blankly. Have you read all the books I gave you last time? Yes, I have. Lu Chun did take a look when he was making the notes. However, there were too many books. He only copied some from the catalog. He didn't know if he could pass the exam. It's fine as long as you've read it. A sea of clouds heaved a sigh of relief. He was afraid that this guy hadn't even flipped through the book. Now that the test was over, it was time for the principal's test. Ma Bei also looked at Lu Chun and smiled at Lu Chun. Next, the dean's assessment. Everyone has heard the nameless dean's public lecture before. Although he is an unaffiliated cultivator, his understanding of the major professions has made our eyes light up. He must have seriously studied the basic theories of the major professions to be able to deduce the subversive concept of the three major spiritual powers. I believe that many people are looking forward to the performance of the Nameless Dean. Next, let's welcome the Nameless Dean to the stage. Lu Chun sucked in a breath of cold air. His three major spiritual powers were completely summed up from actual combat. Basic theories? That was basically his blind spot. All right. The students of the Demonic Academy were unusually excited. The dean can easily get a perfect score. We didn't believe the dean last time and suffered a great loss. This time, I've already bet on the dean getting a perfect score. Whether or not we can go ashore depends on this. We have already understood that we can't use common sense to infer the dean's results. We have to be bold. This time, I've also bet on a perfect score. Lu Chun was rather surprised. Did the black armor fatty start a gambling session again? This time, the students had learned their lesson and didn't dare to look down on the dean anymore. Lu Chun braced himself and walked onto the stage. Ma Bei had a warm smile on his face, and the students of the Demonic Academy below the stage were all cheering for him. Lu Chun was a little regretful that he didn't study properly. Nameless, please take a seat, Ma Bei said politely. Lu Chun looked at the only table in the martial arts practice field and walked over to sit down. Ma Bei also followed over. Because everyone wants to see your test paper, we will project your answer process onto the illusion map. Lu Chun's eyes widened. My answer isn't anything interesting. You're really too low-key. Ma Bei looked at Lu Chun as if he had seen through Lu Chun. Sometimes, when it's time to be high-profile, it's time to be high-profile. Let the people of the other continents see the power of our Sheng Yuan continent. Lu Chun's face almost turned sinister. Okay, then I won't disturb you from answering the questions. With that, Ma Bei stepped down from the stage. At the same time, Lu Chun discovered that his figure, together with the test paper, had been magnified dozens of times and was projected onto the illusion map in the air. F***CK. Lu Chun almost collapsed. What kind of special treatment was this? Ma Bei couldn't have known that he had brought a cheat sheet, right? In any case, the answering process had already begun. Lu Chun could only brace himself and examine the questions. The first question was fill in the blanks. Question: the maximum three-dimensional limit of the human body is underscore 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 times the spiritual power without taking any pills, using any supplementary cultivation methods, or fusing with the bloodline. 2 points. Upon seeing this question, a sea of clouds heaved a sigh of relief. He leisurely said to Etienne, who was beside him, I told you that this assessment was very simple. Nameless is the human race, so this question is a freebie. However, Lu Chun was staring at this question and was lost in thought. Under normal circumstances, it should be 3 times, but the question said maximum. His current three-dimensional limit was 30 times the spiritual power. Of course, due to the shortage of the extraction scroll, he didn't fill it up, but the upper limit was still 30 times. He was very sure of this. His physical strengthening was also very simple. He didn't use any pills, cultivation methods, or bloodline fusion. He directly strengthened it through the star core. Therefore, There was only one correct answer. Lu Chen confidently wrote countless times. Beautiful. 2 points. Lu Chen was very sure. A sea of clouds, almost fainted. He pulled ET on and said in a trembling voice, "Nameless, what did he write? What is it? Is my translation device broken?" "It's not broken. My translation is also countless times." Etion's face was full of despair. What the hell is countless times? Shouldn't it be 3 times? Did he not read the question clearly? Didn't it say not to use pills and other strengthening methods? A sea of clouds wanted to cry, but had no tears. This was definitely written in the book. Etion sighed. The question was specifically marked with brackets. How could he not see it? This guy is so meticulous when fighting. Why is he so unreliable in the exam? Lu Chen was already happily doing the second question. A sea of clouds didn't lie to me. This question is quite simple. Lu Chen went to the second question. The second question was fill in the blanks. Question: when an elemental insulator uses an elemental attack, there are many obstacles. Then, the highest elemental affinity of an elemental insulator is ____. 2 points. Lu Chen was already in the zone. After carefully reviewing the question, he was secretly delighted. This question was another free point question. He himself was an elemental insulator. Why would he still need to ask such a simple question? Lu Chen carefully wrote infinity. The demonic academy was silent. Yifan looked at the focus man on the stage in despair. This time, he bet 50,000 again. But judging from the current situation, Yifan had no choice but to take out his account book and write, "If I gamble again in the future, I will chop off my hand." Chapter 1120. A sea of clouds grabbed Etion with one hand and Longxiang with the other. Nameless, what are you doing?" They said it's an elemental insulator. What do you mean by an elemental insulator? It's an insulator that insulates all kinds of elements. The affinity is 0. Oh my heart can't take it anymore. Etion was expressionless. The question said that an elemental insulator has an obstacle in increasing affinity with elements. Is that guy blind? Lu Chen found that he was starting to like this test. He had easily scored 4 points in a row. The third question was a multiple-choice question. Question: among the following methods, which one is the best for increasing the combat strength of a battle pet? 2 points. 1. Enhance the familiarity between the battle pet and the battle pet in actual combat. 2. The battle pet takes an immortal level beast body pill to increase its attributes. 3. Use an advanced heaven level battle pet skill. 4. Raise the battle pet and let it increase its combat strength on its own. Everyone was stunned when they saw this question. How easy was the test paper that Zhongxin Gu gave to Nameless? Was it a freebie question? In other words, the Immortal Pavilion definitely wouldn't dare to suppress Lu Chen now, so they changed their way of thinking. It wasn't impossible for them to express their goodwill to Lu Chen. It was reasonable for them to pick a simple test paper and let the Divine Magic Academy's ranking be higher. However, a sea of clouds and the others didn't look relaxed at all. I think it's the third option. A sea of clouds was a bit uncertain. Longxiang nodded. It's definitely the third option. The main interference of this question is the second option. Some pills are indeed very effective, but the question said that it's a beast body pill. Then, the increase of attributes should be around 500 points. The advanced battle pet skill in the sky can greatly increase the battle pet's combat strength. Plus, it's highly connected with a master's senses. The effect must be the best. This is without a doubt. Right then, people saw Lu Chen pick up a pen and write down the answer. After careful consideration, he chose 4. As a man who had furry, critter, originator, and rhubarb, Lu Chen believed that nobody knew the correct answer better than he did. Speaking of which, Lu Chen indeed had to choose the 4th option. Junior Originator had been away from him for several years. When he was facing the Puppet Master in the 5th Heavenly Layer, if not for saving him, Junior Originator could have killed the Puppet Master by himself. Little Beastie, Little Hairy Ball, and Little Originator had been away from him for a few months. After returning from the Fallen Demon Forest, their strength had soared. Through these 2 incidents, Lu Chun had already deeply realized that free-range cultivation was the root of becoming strong. There was no other option that could be compared to it. This question seems very stupid, but this is where the person who came up with this question is brilliant. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes and snorted. Good thing that I have a deep understanding of this question. Otherwise, I would have been misled by you. Lu Chun raised his head and clenched his fists at the Demonic Academy, cheering them on. Yes, 6 points. The president didn't let you down. Etion and the others in a sea of clouds were on the verge of collapsing after seeing how confident Lu Chun was. Where did that guy get his confidence from? I have to hand it to him. I can understand why he chose any of the other 3 options. But he chose free range? If free range cultivation is useful, why would he train his pets every day? Yi Fan moved closer to the mysterious Armor King and asked, Senior brother, did anyone bet that the president would get 0 points? The mysterious Armor King checked the record and found it hard to believe. Someone did? Who? Yi Fan widened his eyes. According to this trend, the person who bet 0 points might make a fortune. Little Beast. The mysterious Armor King and Yi Fan turned around at the same time, looking for Little Beast. Little Beast was sitting behind them. Yi Fan immediately changed seats with his junior brother and sat next to Little Beast. Little Beast, how do you know that the president would get 0 points? Little Beast shrugged. Senior brother, do you even need to think about it? Dad has been a wild man since he was a cultivator. Do you expect him to know these basic theoretical knowledge? Impossible. He only has practical experience, but no theoretical knowledge. Yi Fan frowned. But aren't you afraid that he might get 1 or 2 questions right? I can't rule out this possibility. Little Beast said, but Dad is usually serious. He won't give up and make blind guesses. So, as long as he answers the questions seriously, I think the possibility of getting 0 points is very high. I see. Yi Fan felt that he had been enlightened. Hey, Little Beast, what do you bet on next time? I'll bet with you. Little Beast thought for a while and said, Senior brother Yi Fan, I don't really want to bet with you. You're the kind of person who loses every bet. I'm afraid that my luck can't beat your bad luck. Yi Fan was rejected by the little critter and was directly rejected. As Lu Chun answered more questions, a sea of clouds, and the others were already used to it. Forget it. I've already said that we shouldn't count on him for this theoretical assessment. Etion was expressionless. A sea of clouds sighed. Hey, as expected of Nameless. I only hope that he can get 2 points in the question and answer. He can't possibly get 0 points. Etion shook his head. You still dare to have hope for that guy? Old C, I'm very sure that he can answer all the questions that you can't think of. Lu Chen's condition was getting better and better, and his answering speed had also increased. Zhong Xingge was obviously biased, but the other academies didn't dare to say anything. Moreover, based on the current situation, it seemed like they didn't need to raise any objections. Lu Chen didn't disappoint and answered all of them wrong. It was already the last question. It was still the only question and answer. Question: as the dean, while you pay attention to the students' cultivation, you also need to care about the students' personal lives. So, if your academy became enemies with a force that was several times stronger than your academy and wanted to kill your students, as the dean, how would you deal with it? 7 points. Faced with such a technical question, Lu Chun put down his pen. He crossed his arms over his chest and rested his chin on his other hand, deep in thought. At this moment, the Demonic Academy's disciples also looked at Lu Chun. They didn't know if this question was intentional by Zhong Xingge, because the Demonic Academy was currently facing this problem. Even if the Demonic Academy's disciples didn't know the reason for the hatred between Yi Fan and the Purple Sky Palace, they knew that it was such a thing. Seeing Lu Chen's thoughtful look, a sea of clouds seemed to see a glimmer of hope again. This question is Nameless' current problem. As long as you write a little bit, you should be able to get some points. In a corner of the audience area, a strong man leaned back in his chair and smiled slightly after seeing this question. He snorted coldly. So Zhong Xingge is doing this to reconcile the conflict between the Purple Sky Palace and the Demonic Academy? Humph, how naive. Well, I'd like to see how Nameless will answer and how you will show weakness to the Purple Sky Palace. No matter how Lu Chun dealt with it, it would prove that the Demonic Academy was showing weakness. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly and kept staring at this question. As the dean, how should he deal with it? The word deal was used very well. Did this kind of thing need to be dealt with? This should be another attempt by the person who set the question to mislead him. After guessing the intention of the person who set the question, Lu Chun picked up his pen and wrote down the answer in front of everyone. The disciples of our academy are rewarded and punished by the Demonic Academy. If any force dares to touch the disciples of the Demonic Academy, as the dean, I will naturally flatten them. Chapter 1121. At this moment, the disciples of the Demonic Academy suddenly forgot about the dean's score. Everyone's eyes were filled with determination. That's right, this was the dean of the Demonic Academy. Sometimes he was a little silly, but when it came to matters involving the students, he would not back down at all. Sure enough, this is the dean's answer. As arrogant as ever. Xiao Zhan smiled. So, even if he gets a 0, Xiao Zhan, am convinced by this guy. Crazy enough. Did you see that? This is the dean of our Demonic Academy. I've only heard of the dean's deeds before, but now I finally understand why the nameless dean can be admired by the whole academy, even though he's just a newcomer. A newcomer took a deep breath. I'm honored to be a disciple of the divine demon. A sea of clouds suddenly felt relieved. He smiled helplessly and shook his head. Nameless, this guy is really lovable and hateful. He's probably going to get a 0 again. Etion smiled. So what if he gets a 0? I'm not counting on him anyway. But what a good trample until you flatten. It makes my old bones feel a little excited. Little Beast secretly glanced at Yi Fan and saw that guy actually put down his account book and stared blankly at the dean with tears in his eyes. Obviously, this was not just the answer that Lu Chun wrote on the paper. He had been doing this all along. In the audience, Purple Knight Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. He did not expect Nameless to answer like this. This was obviously a warning to the Purple Sky Palace. If they dared to touch Yi Fan, Nameless would trample the Purple Sky Palace. Very well. I'd like to see if you have the ability. Lu Chun finally finished answering. When he stood up, he saw the excited expressions of the students. From the expressions of these guys, Lu Chun was sure that his score would not be bad. Mabe, I'm done with the exam. Mabe walked in front of Lu Chun, trembling with fear. It's not time for the exam yet. Are you sure you don't want to check? No need, Lu Chun said confidently. The questions for this exam are very simple. It's easy to answer them. Mabe's face darkened. It's easy for you to answer, but have you considered Zhongxingge? This time, in order to come up with a question for Lu Chun, how many brain cells did they use? They tried their best to come up with questions that Lu Chun would know, or more accurately, questions that they thought Lu Chun would know. They were all familiar with each other. If Zhongxingge had really set such difficult questions and let Nameless, a savage, do badly in front of everyone, what would happen if Nameless held a grudge? In the end, he didn't even get a single question right. Why don't you check again? There's really no need. I'm very confident about this exam. Mabe was under a lot of pressure. Who gave this guy such confidence? Now, the problem was on Zhongxingji's side. Could they announce that Nameless got a 0 on the spot? The key was that this guy felt so good about himself. If they really announced it, Nameless would be embarrassed, and Zhongxingge would not have a good ending. However, no matter how difficult it was for Zhongxingge, they had to announce the results now. Mabe's expression was difficult, and he did not dare to look at Lu Chun's expectant eyes. Nameless, go back to your seat first. Mabe felt that he might be in danger if he stayed by his side. Lu Chun did not think much and walked off the stage. When he came in front of a sea of clouds, Lu Chun's face was full of pride. Old sea, how was my performance? A sea of clouds held it in for a long time and finally squeezed out a word. Good. Longji looked at a sea of clouds' red face and laughed out loud. It was really hard for a sea of clouds to say something like that. Mabe announced the final results. Nameless Director's reputation score is 20 points. The exam results are 2 points. Hearing this result, two people from the demonic academy stood up at the same time. Lu Chun and Little Beastie. Lu Chun questioned loudly, "How can it be 2 points? Which question did I get wrong? You must have made a mistake." Little Beastie also questioned loudly, "How can it be 2 points? The last question is obviously a negative example. How can Zhongxin Ge give out a score blindly? My dad definitely should have gotten a 0. When Lu Chun heard that, he looked back strangely. "Little Beastie, what did you say?" "Dad." Little Beastie saw Lu Chun and quickly shrank back. This was the only person who could make him behave. "Wait, don't tell me you placed a bet." Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. Little Beastie was scared. "Dad, the living expenses you gave me are too little. If you want to bet, so be it. You actually bet that I got a 0? "Dad, I just wanted to win some money." Little Beastie muttered. "Hey, you little brat. I'll teach you a lesson when we get back." Lu Chun did not have time to care about him now. He still had to reason with Ma Bei. When a sea of clouds and the others saw this, they hurriedly pulled Lu Chun back. Forget it. Director, didn't we get 2 points?" "Director, please don't be angry. Actually, your answers are wrong." Lu Chun was pulled back by a group of people. "What wrong? My answers are correct." "No, let go of me. I want to have a good talk with Ma Bei." "There's so many people." "Director, forget it." Ma Bei was not stupid. If Nameless rushed over, he would definitely be embarrassed. Seeing that a sea of clouds and the others were helping, he quickly announced the next assessment. "Dad, it's getting late. Let's quickly move on to the next round. The last round, the student competition. Let's invite the 5 students and 1 instructor from the Demonic Academy to the stage. After the competition begins, other academies can challenge them. You are not allowed to use soul-body fusion during the competition. Try not to injure others. In the end, we will score according to the performance of the Demonic Academy." After that, Ma Bei hurried over to Lu Chun. Lu Chun was still blocked by a group of people. Now that Ma Bei was here, he was even more agitated. "Ma Bei, tell me clearly, why do I only get 2 points?" Ma Bei walked in front of him and whispered, Nameless, stop messing around. If you don't believe me, ask a sea of clouds if your answers are wrong." "What's wrong? You are the ones who are wrong." John Doe, just take it that you're giving me some face. This is the conclusion of so many years." "What do you mean by many years?" "If I say it's wrong, it's wrong. If you don't believe me, I will prove it to you." Seeing that Lu Chun was still unwilling to give up, Ma Bei really had no choice. "If you are really unhappy, I will send you a few more spiritual magic treasures later. The level is not lower than the rewards from the big hunting competition." Lu Chun suddenly quieted down. Spiritual magic treasures? Demonic Academy's secondary spiritual vein seemed to be a little thin recently, but the Academy had not opened the mission system yet. Lu Chun was wondering if he should get some beast cores to support him for a while. If there were spiritual magic treasures, the effect would definitely be different. "Tell me clearly, how many do you want?" 2. Ma Bei was a little unconfident. Nameless, this guy was definitely insatiable. 10. Give me 10 spiritual magic treasures, and I will admit defeat. Oh, and also send 4 Four Seasons Rui bottles. In my great hall of gods and devils, there is only the pair you sent last time. It feels a little monotonous. Ma Bei sucked in a breath of cold air. This guy was really greedy. But Nameless got the lowest score in history in front of so many people. He would definitely not let it go. Well, the Immortal Senior said that he should try to win over Nameless. After all, the Demonic Academy's future achievements were limitless. Besides, he could not let Nameless continue to make trouble like this. If he really turned hostile, who could stop him? Ma Bei endured the heartache. "Okay, I will send someone to send it over. Quickly bring the disciples to the stage. The Disciples' Challenge is about to begin." Chapter 1122. After reaching an agreement with Ma Bei, Lu Chun finally behaved himself. 10 Spirit Source magic treasures and 4 Four Seasons wishfuls. It was a good deal. Since Zhongxin Ge was willing to pay, Lu Chun had to give them some face. He stood up and said to the people behind him, "Yi Fan, Xiao Zhan, Chu Tian, Wu Xian Skyfall, let's go. Little Beast was not going. After all, this guy was actually Lu Chen's battle pet. He was doing well in the academy now, so he could continue to do so for now. The mentor candidate was Lu Chen himself. The six of them walked up to the arena together. A sea of clouds looked at the backs of these people and said to Yi "Old me, those 5 kids are much stronger than they were a year ago. Yes, these 5 kids are all rare geniuses. Yifan seems to have a lot of debt, but it didn't affect his improvement. It seems that he's already at the 3-star level of Theo the Great. I don't know how he did it." A sea of clouds nodded. No wonder the Purple Sky Palace didn't want to let him go. If this kind of genius is given some time to grow, he'll be a completely different person in the future. Little Beast didn't go. Etienne said. This time, the top 5 of the arena were arranged. It seems that the dean didn't want Little Beast to fight in the arena. He said that he was afraid that the arena would be destroyed. A sea of clouds nodded. That was true. Little Beast had its father to protect it, so it didn't need to compete with others for resources. The previous theory exam was not interesting. When they saw the dean of the Demonic Academy bring the 5 strongest students up to the arena, the audience went wild. These are the 5 strongest of the Divine Devil Academy's geniuses? It said that they all received invitations from Immortal Academy. The 5 strongest students are uncertain. They should be the top 5 on the Celestial and Demonic rankings. The Demonic Academy is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Some people don't care about the arena rankings. The Celestial Demon Leaderboard. Speaking of which, I heard that the exchange student from the other academies can no longer enter the top 300. Even those who have cultivated for several years can't enter. Yes, the Celestial Demon list is the most terrifying list in Prosperous Origin Continent. To be able to rank in the top 5 on that list, his strength is already very terrifying. Since this was a competition that was related to the ranking of the academies that had just entered the rankings were all newly established academies. Thus, the challengers were also limited by the number of years they had been in the academy. However, the restrictions would be relatively relaxed. As long as they were disciples who had been in the academy for less than 20 years, they could challenge them. He had been in the school for 20 years, so he was definitely not a newcomer. However, from the looks of Yifan and the others, they were standing in front of Lu Chun without any signs of fear. In order to conserve the energy of both sides, the Celestial and Demonic Academies couldn't be challenged by just one academy. According to the rules, Zhongxingge would give out several challengers of different levels. They were the Ordinary Academies, the Sacred Academies, and the Immortal Academies. If there was a main academy, other forces would also appear in the list of challengers. The Demonic Academy would have to choose one academy to challenge. The Demonic Academy would gain a certain amount of points for every victory they won. The points would be determined by the strength of the opponent they chose. During the challenge, each side would send out a disciple to compete in a single move. The winner could choose to continue the challenge or give up on the next battle. They could rest for a while and continue the next battle. The loser would lose the opportunity to challenge. After all 5 students were defeated, the other 5 would all be revived. At that time, they could challenge at the same time or take turns to challenge their own teachers. In the end, defeating the teacher would be the final condition for victory. Soon, Zhongxingge gave out the list of the first batch of challengers. The first group of challengers is the North Star Immortal Academy, the Heavenly Brilliance Sacred Academy, and the Martial Arts Academy. The Demonic Academy, please choose your challengers. Lu Chun didn't even think about it. He directly said, the North Star Immortal Academy. Yifan and the others weren't surprised at all. It would be strange if the Dean didn't choose the Immortal Academy. Dean, you should rest well. You probably won't have a chance to fight, Chu Tian said. Lu Chen frowned. The opponent is the Immortal Academy. Are you sure you can win? Xiao Zhan chuckled. Dean, we're much stronger than before. Lu Chen snorted. The Immortal Academy isn't weak either. Don't be so sure. On the other side of the arena, the people from the North Star Immortal Academy went up on stage. They were very excited that the Demonic Academy had chosen them. They chose our North Star Immortal Academy right away. How interesting. Everyone says that the Demonic Academy is powerful. I, North Star Tianchi, am here to experience it for myself. One of the disciples was especially excited. A middle-aged man behind him said, "We signed up for the challenge this time, so that you can exchange blows with Nameless. Now that we know he's the one who killed the King of Hell, don't expect you to win, but at least make him fight with all his strength." This man actually knew that it was Lu Chun who killed the King of Hell. It seemed like he was quite well informed. Tianchi hurriedly restrained his attitude and cupped his fists at the man. "Yes, Marshal Uncle Moyen, we've all seen Nameless' performance in the Prodigy competition. He's just SOSO. How can he kill the King of Hell with this kind of strength? I really don't know if the rumors are true. We'll definitely make him fight with all his strength and make him understand his own strength." Not long after, the people from the North Star Immortal Academy stood opposite the Demonic Academy. Moyen took a step forward. Yi Fan and the others directly dissed Lu Chun. "Nameless Dean, I'm Moyen, a cultivation instructor of the North Star Immortal Academy. Please enlighten me." Lu Chun saw that he was quite polite and cupped his fists in return. "I don't dare to enlighten you. It's just a spar." At this moment, Tianchi said to Yi Fan, "Hey, Nameless on the other side. Geniuses from all over the world gathered here. You gods and devils really boast shamelessly. Do you know who I am? I can defeat all 5 of you by myself. Nameless, I like to see if you're as powerful as the rumors say." Yi Fan frowned slightly. This guy purposely used Nameless to describe gods and devils. One had to know that the dean was Jiao, Nameless. Clearly, he did it on purpose. He even directly called the dean by his name. This made Yi Fan burn with anger. "North Star Immortal Academy has the nerve to hoot here? Don't you know that I still have the invitation letter from North Star Immortal Academy in my bag?" Yi Fan purposely sighed heavily. "Luckily, I didn't go to your North Star Immortal Academy. I can tell how strong you are just by looking at the faces of your students. You're just a mere student, but your eyes are already growing on top of your head. It seems like your horizons are only SOSO. Yi Fan wasn't good at interacting with girls. He gambled and lost every time he gambled. He didn't look like he spoke much normally, but when it came to talking, he wouldn't lose to others. Aya, what a coincidence. Junior brother Yi, I've also received an invitation from North Star Immortal Academy. They said that as long as I go, they'll definitely focus on training me." Wu Xian was even more ruthless. He directly took out an invitation letter from his bag. It was from North Star Immortal Academy. Xiao Zhan rummaged in his bag for a long time. Finally, he took out one from the large stack of invitation letters. "AI, are you talking about this? I have one too. Senior brother Chu, junior brother Skyfall. Do you have one too?" Chu Tian shook his head. "It sounds a little familiar, but I don't remember." Skyfall frowned. "What are you keeping this for? You threw all mine away." This time, the people from North Star Immortal Academy were completely speechless. Out of the 5 people from Demonic Academy, 2 of them actually took out an invitation letter from North Star Immortal Academy. It was even sealed with golden paper. There were clearly people who were focused on training. He was still feeling proud of his status as a disciple of North Star Immortal Academy, but all of them rejected North Star Immortal Academy's invitation. Chapter 11:23. All of you deserve to die. Tiansu's eyes widened in anger as he activated the toxic tyrant body. His body was surrounded by a thick green mist. "Who among the 5 of you will come out and die first?" Yi Fan's group of 5 looked at each other and gathered together to discuss. "Senior brother, let me fight Bei Chun," Wu Xian said. "My 5-colored spiritual energy has just leveled up. I want to test its actual power." "Let me do it." "I just don't like this Tian Su," Xiao Zhan said. "You 2 stop arguing. Senior brother Chu will arrange it," Skyfall said. Apart from Grey Crow and the others, Chu Tian was the senior brother of the Demonic Academy. At this time, he still had to listen to his senior brother's arrangements. Chu Tian thought for a moment and said, "It's the same no matter who goes up. How about this? We'll go up one by one according to the arena's ranking. Wu Xian, you're currently 5th, so you go up first. Remember to teach that Tian Su a lesson." Wu Xian smiled. Don't worry, senior brother. After a short discussion, Wu Xian became the first student from the Demonic Academy to go on stage. The others retreated for the time being. Wu Xian stood in front of Tian Su and looked at him coldly. Immortal Academy's 20th year student? Very good. Five-colored mystic energy. Wu Xian shouted. Immediately, five-colored spiritual energy surged out from his body. You want to see our dean? Your Bachin really dares to dream. Our dean isn't someone a frog at the bottom of a well like you has the right to mention. Arrogant to the extreme. Die. Tian Su was furious. With a flash, he appeared in front of Wu Xian. Poison Sovereign, 10,000 poison withering. Heart-devouring fist. Tian Su was a martial artist and poison master dual cultivator. He added poison to his fist technique. Therefore, even though he used two techniques, it was only one move. Facing the horrifying toxic palm wind that crushed over like toppling mountains and overturning seas, Wu Xian was not the slightest bit afraid. Five-colored mystic energy, five elements return to ruin. Along with Wu Xian's punch, five-colored spiritual energy erupted and collided with the heart-devouring palm. Two thick strands of spirit energy abruptly collided. The ancient withering and five-colored profound energy madly collided, and it was like two ferocious tigers wrestling. In the entire arena, violent gales pressed towards the center of the arena. After a full 4 to 5 seconds, the two of them were actually evenly matched. When the crowd saw the two of them in a stalemate, they were all shocked. Demonic Academy's Wu Xian is so strong. Actually comparable to a 20-year disciple from Immortal Academy? That's not all. Tian Su is the strongest in the Bachin cohort. Yet he can't kill a first-year rookie? What exactly is that five-colored profound chi? I've never heard of it. What kind of monsters are the students of the Demonic Academy? If I remember correctly, Tian Su should be the 5-star Theo the Great, right? As a genius student from Immortal Academy, he should also have extremely powerful ability to fight above his level. Yet he actually couldn't instantly kill Wu Xian. However, Tian Su's cultivation level is higher, which means that his spiritual energy is stronger. If this continues, he should still be able to win. Right at this time, a huge change suddenly occurred on the battlefield. The five-colored profound chi around Wu Xian's body suddenly merged into black spiritual energy. At this moment, Tian Su suddenly discovered that the power of the other party's punch instantly increased several times, as if the other party's spiritual energy suddenly exploded. As soon as he realized this, he didn't have time to make any adjustments before his entire body flew out like a cannonball, fiercely smashing into a meditation pavilion outside the martial arena. Hong, the meditation pavilion, was directly blasted through. Bachin Immortal Academy's people hurriedly went to search and finally brought Tian Su back from the ruins. At this time, Tian Su's face was already green, most likely caused by the ancient withering. At the same time, his entire body was riddled with wounds. His right arm was broken, and the bone pierced through the skin from his elbow. His entire body was on the verge of collapse. Not good. Senior brother was injured by his own poison. Quick, Snow Lotus pill. That disciple shouted loudly. Mo Yin hurriedly walked up, stuffing a pill into Tian Su's mouth. Only then did Tian Su slowly recover. Right now, he looked at Wu Xian in horror, unable to say anything for a long time. Wu Xian coldly snorted. Didn't you say you wanted to fight 1 against 5? How come you can't even beat one of me? Do you know how childish you are now? Tian Su was so angry his entire body was shaking, but in front of reality, it was already useless no matter what he said. Bachin Immortal Academy's disciples were also horrified. One had to understand that their battle tactics were completely opposite of gods and devils. The first person they sent out was their most powerful senior brother Tian Su, all for the sake of getting rid of those 5 disciples as quickly as possible, forcing Nameless to make a move. However, Tian Su was directly crushed. How? How is this possible? My senior brother has cultivated an Immortal Academy for 19 years. So why can't he beat a newcomer who just entered the academy for a year? The disciples supporting Tian said angrily. Wu Xian couldn't be bothered to reply, but Chu Tian and the others behind him didn't stop. Wu Xian has become stronger again. Speaking of which, after returning from the netherworld, he's been cultivating even harder than before, not even participating in the arena. That guy's five-colored profound energy is indeed unpredictable, having the effect of devouring, even able to devour Tian Su's poison. He really is so powerful. If I fought him with my full strength, it really might not be certain who would win. Dean, what do you think of junior brother Wu Xian's performance? Xiao Zhan turned around to look at Lu Chun, only to see that their dean wasn't watching the competition at all, his eyes staring at the destroyed meditation pavilion, as if it was a bomb that could explode at any time. Xiao Zhan hurriedly shrunk his neck. It's fine. A single fist destroyed a meditation pavilion. This made Lu Chen's heart ache endlessly. It was another great loss. Right now, they were in the middle of a competition, so he could only temporarily endure it. Wu Xian, this guy, every time he fought, he would destroy buildings. Once this ranking matter was settled, he had to send Wu Xian to the other academies for an exchange. Wu Xian looked indifferently at the people from the North Star Immortal Academy. Don't waste time next. In the spectator area, a sea of clouds shook his head and said to Tian, "This is bad. These guys are really becoming more and more like the dean. I reckon that if it weren't for the rules, Wu Xian would want to fight 5 of them alone." Tian could not help but laugh. There's nothing we can do about it. Who asked John Doe to be like that? Furthermore, these brats are geniuses to begin with. Now that they're following John Doe, it's difficult for them to keep a low profile. The other dean's eyes were already red. Oh my, what a good seedling this is. Why didn't he come to our academy? If we had such an outstanding disciple, we would definitely rise up in a few years. Comparisons are odious. A super genius like Wu Xian, the Demonic Academy has a bunch of them. Why did I come to watch a competition between gods and demons? I'm so hungry I'm crying. A first-year newcomer defeated a 20-year disciple of the Immortal Academy. A disciple like Wu Xian, placed in any academy, would be a hot commodity. It would be strange if they weren't jealous. The competition was still ongoing. Divine Might Sword Shadow. Using a sword? I could do that too. 5 elements void, Sword of Void. Wu Xian defeated another person. Thus breaking, Painless Palm. 5 colors Profound Qi. 5 elements return to ruins. Defeated another person. Not long after, the 5 from the North Star Immortal Academy were all defeated. Wu Xian looked at the 5 North Star Immortal Academy disciples on the ground and said indifferently, "In front of gods and demons, you still dare to feel superior? Remember, in the future, when you see gods and demons, lower your head and walk." Chapter 1124. An academy that didn't even have a ranking actually dared to speak to a mortal academy like this. This was unprecedented in the 6th heaven. In the final battle, Wu Xian's group of 5 fought against Mo Yin, and Mo Yin chose to forfeit. Mo Yin's strength was still very strong. As an instructor of a mortal academy, he was already in the human king realm. As an instructor of a mortal academy, his purpose was to let the students exchange blows with Nameless. Who would have thought that before he could even meet the Nameless, he would be defeated by Wu Xian alone? If the competition continued, even if he won, it would already be meaningless for a mortal academy. Lu Chen frowned slightly. "Your Excellency, are you not going to exchange blows with my 5 disciples?" "Nameless Dean, my immortal academy has been rude. We forfeit the final battle." Mo Yin cupped his fists and said, "Congratulations to Nameless Dean. The Demonic Academy has passed the first round." Mo Yin could be considered to have retreated in order to advance. He had more or less saved the Immortal Academy's face. Since the other party had admitted defeat, Lu Chun didn't insist. After the first battle, the Demonic Academy obtained 100 points. They obtained full marks in this round. In the second battle, a challenger from Immortal Academy appeared. Lu Chun decisively chose Immortal Seeking Pavilion. Among the disciples of Immortal Seeking Pavilion, the person with the highest level had already reached 7 stars of Theo the Great. One had to know that at this level, he could already become an instructor in an ordinary academy. Moreover, most instructors were old and frail. However, that disciple of Theo the Great was in the prime of his life. He still had a lot of room for improvement. This was the biggest difference between the two. This battle was fought by Skyfall, who was ranked 4th on the demonic god list. The Skyfall sword in Skyfall's hand was more powerful than Wu Xian's 5-colored profound energy. It was hard to say who was stronger, but Skyfall's sword was clearly more direct. Unfortunately, the opponent's strength was too strong. Skyfall's moves were powerful, but they also consumed a lot of energy. After defeating 2 people, he didn't have enough spiritual energy. In order to preserve his strength, Xiao Zhan continued the battle. Xiao Zhan made his move and once again shocked the crowd. He won 3 rounds in a row. The leader of the Immortal Seeking Pavilion was much more polite than the one from the Northern Star Immortal Academy. He cupped his fists and said to Lu Chun, "Nameless Dean, the Demonic Academy is indeed filled with dragons and crouching tigers. These disciples have only been in the academy for a year, yet they already have such strength. It really makes one envious." Lu Chun faintly smiled. Since others were being polite, he was also being polite. "Senior Lian Shi, you flatter me." It was only a single move, so it can't be considered a winner. Lian Shi nodded with a smile. His good friend, He Xing, the pavilion master of the celestial fortress Tianyao Pavilion, had always told him that if he was polite to Nameless during a challenge, he would be polite to him. He was right. Nameless arrogance, but that was because others didn't understand him. He had single-handedly killed the king of hell, yet he had never mentioned it to anyone. This was the exact opposite of arrogance. Rather than arrogance, it would be better to say that he was casual. "Nameless Dean, I don't think it's necessary to compete in the last round. The disciples of the Divine Demon Academy have already proven their strength," Lian Shi said with a smile. "Here, let me congratulate you for winning the second round." "Thank you." Lu Chun faintly smiled. "Nameless brother, if you have time in the future, you are welcome to come to the Southern Fortress continent and exchange ideas with our academy." "The Southern Fortress continent? Okay, I'll visit when I have time." Lu Chun readily agreed. The Demonic Academy had already won 2 rounds in a row and obtained 220 points. Among them, the second round was an additional 20 points. If they could win the third round, they might break through the upper limit of 300 points. And the challenger of the third round, the Fanxing Immortal Academy, would meet the 2 strongest disciples of the Demonic Academy, Yi Fan and Chu Tian. The 2 had already discussed that Chu Tian would fight 3 rounds, and Yi Fan would fight 2. The strongest disciple of the Fanxing Immortal Academy was the 6-star Theo the Great. His strength was not bad. Everyone had cultivated for around 20 years, so he was at least 1 star higher than Tian Su. However, in the face of the 2 freaks, Chu Tian and Yi Fan, the Fanxing Immortal Academy had no chance to fight back. After 3 rounds, Chu Tian was still not satisfied. He even spent 10,000 spiritual stones to buy another round from Yi Fan. As a result, the strongest disciple of the Divine Demon Academy, Yi Fan's only opponent, turned out to be the weakest disciple of the Fanxing Immortal Academy. The match was even more boring. Yi Fan defeated his opponent with 1 move. There was no suspense. The opposing instructor could not believe that his student was so weak. A dignified Immortal Academy was beaten to a pulp by a newly established academy. This was unheard of in the 6th layer of heaven. Just as he was thinking about whether he should go up and fight, he saw Lu Chun stretch. Lu Chun was too bored. He had been standing in the arena for almost an hour without doing anything. It was not as fulfilling as the dean's assessment. Lu Chun walked up and cupped his fists at the opposing instructor. "Friend, this is the last round. I think you should not forfeit the instructor round. Let's just treat it as a friendly competition. How about it?" That person frowned and looked at Lu Chun. "Nameless Dean, are you saying that you want your disciple to challenge me?" "No, it's just a friendly competition. I will challenge you." After all, we are both instructors. This way, no one will lose face. That person immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. This guy did not play by the rules. He wanted to go up himself. How could there be such a leader? However, when he thought about the strange demonic academy, it seemed that this kind of thing was reasonable. Nameless strength was said to be one of the peak sixth layer of heaven. Although he was in the human king realm, he still had some self-awareness. I don't think it's necessary. Today is a joyous day for your academy. We are only here to compare notes. Since your disciples have already proven their strength, there is no point in continuing the competition. That person hurriedly said, "Congratulations, nameless brother, for passing 3 rounds in a row. One of them is the main academy. I think the final result should be bonus points. We will not disturb you." After saying that, that person quickly left the arena with the 5 injured disciples. Lucien looked at the other person's back and helplessly shook his head. "Dean, don't look. He doesn't want to fight with you." Xiaozhan walked to Lucien and said, "Why did you jump out for no reason?" I saw that person's expression. He originally said that he would have a chance to fight with him, but he was scared away by you. Lucien glared at Xiaozhan. "Don't you feel bored standing here for 1 or 2 hours? I told you to let a few people come over, but you didn't listen to a single one of them." Wu Xian said with a smile. He was the happiest person. After all, he was the only one who had completed all 5 rounds. "Dean, how can we trouble you with such matters?" Lu Chun snorted coldly. "You still have the cheek to speak? Did Repose Pavilion offend you? Every time you fight, you won't fight without destroying a few buildings, right?" At the mention of Repose Pavilion, Wu Xian immediately cowered and hid behind his senior brothers. Ma Bei walked over with a smile. "Nameless brother, I'm really envious of you. The quality of God-fiend disciples is too high. You won all 3 rounds. Let me announce the results." Ma Bei stood on the stage. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly saw a team walk over. The person in the lead was nearly 4 meters tall and extremely burly. Behind him were 5 disciples, 4 men and 1 woman. All of them were dressed in purple robes. Seeing these 6 people, Ma Bei was suddenly stunned. Not only Ma Bei, but everyone from the Demonic Academy was also stunned. Purple Heavenly Palace. At this moment, Lu Chen's mind was completely blank. He didn't recognize the other 5 people, but he recognized the only woman in the opposing team at a glance. "Jioa." Lu Chen's eyes widened in disbelief. The man in the lead slowly walked over with the team while laughing heartily. "Haha, the Demonic Academy is indeed powerful. Even the main academy's Immortal Academy could easily defeat them. It's just that this kind of small fight is really boring to watch. Since that's the case, I believe that Nameless Dean wouldn't mind an additional round. Let's do something exciting." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.